Underdog Fantasy is the fastest growing fantasy app and easiest place to play fantasy sports. Just jump on UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app, draft your team, and that's it. And if drafts aren't your thing, they also have a pick'em game where you can win 20 times your money in a single night. Use promo code RADIO, and Underdog will double your first deposit when you sign up with up to $100 in bonus cash. Deposit $100, get $100 free. That's promo code RADIO. Terms and conditions apply.
Target has Laundry Day covered because they offer a great selection of concentrated Tide Pods to help with all your laundry needs. Tide Pods clean, freshen, and help rejuvenate your clothes with odor fighters and stain removers. Did you know Tide Pods clean better than the leading liquid bargain detergent? Tide Pods are powerful enough to make your whites white and your brights bright, even in cold water. Just toss in 1 Tide Pod for small loads, 2 for medium, 3 for large. It's that easy. For great value and convenient pickup options, get Tide Pods today at Target.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Yo, what up? This is Rocky Asuka Romero of Chaos, and you are listening to Keepin' It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the ace of podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the ace of podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ASA podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review Capital Collision in the first 2 nights of Best of the Super Junior 29 and cover all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/Social Suplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com, with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty well. Birthday weekend, recovering from that, and now I'm here doing this show.
Yeah, we had a little get-together for your birthday on Friday night. A little interesting concept you put together. You had all your guests pick a match from different promotions, 25-minute max time limit, kind of created our own little super card, and we ran through that. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was cool, having people from the Larger Loop and Social Suplex and what have you, some of the workers in the area come through. And that was cool and on, a few people gave me gifts, and I appreciate that. But one thing I couldn't help but notice, Jeremy, that the Keeping It Strong Style page didn't give any reference to my birthday on Sunday. So what's that about?
Slacking. I gave you, the personal shout out in the group and on my Instagram, on Facebook, and I don't know, just didn't post on
me. You know that I care about the clout of social media more than anything else. Okay, so yeah, you got me a book. Okay, you shouted me out in the group. That's all well and good, but Floyd Johnson messaged me on Twitter and let the world know it was my birthday. Let them know how much he appreciated me. He's not trying to keep me in the dark the way that you are. So, you know, ergo, Floyd Johnson loves me more than you do, basically, that's what I've gathered from that.
Maybe he does.
But no, yeah, I had a good weekend. And one thing that's nice is like my work anniversary kind of coincides with my birthday usually. And I just reached 5 years. So at 5 years, they give you like all these cool gifts and everything. So, you know, I've been shopping and buying stuff and doing cool stuff this weekend and watching good wrestling. And, you know, now I'm here to talk about it with you guys.
Nice. So what else did you do this weekend?
You know, my dad took me to get a pedicure. Never had a pedicure before. Not sure if it's for me. I'm not one of those like feet guys, but I will say that you know, my toes are a lot cleaner than they were before. So that was one thing that was interesting. Went and had Korean barbecue with the girlfriend on my birthday. So we did that. And, you know, just kind of ate a bunch of food I probably should have been eating, drinking drinks I should have been drinking, stuff like that. Got gifts, you know.
Sounds like a fun weekend. I've had one pedicure before, and it was awesome.
No, here's the funny thing is like, I guess I'm peeling the curtain back a little bit. My dad is like always complaining about money and stuff, right? And he's got a good job, and I'm always wondering like, what does this fool spend his money on? So we're in the place, and like he knows all the girls. He's very much like a regular as far as from what I could gather. And then he's like, yeah, I get one of these every like 3 to 4 weeks. And I was like, how much is it? Bro, if I told you how much it was, like, I'm sure there's some people listening that know, but like, I have no idea how much, like, you know, taking care of people's nails and feet, like, costs. It costs way more than you would think it would cost. So, yeah. Yeah, kind of, in my opinion, kind of a frivolous expenditure, but, you know, I don't know. They had a bubble bath, put your feet in it. Felt good. It's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, man. Glad you had a good birthday weekend. We got tons of stuff to talk about here this week on the show. And first thing we got to talk about is the ongoing story of the Golden Star Kota Ibushi. As we were recording last week, getting ready for last week's recording, this whole kind of story kind of started and developing one tweet after another, people trying to translate, people talking to sources and reporting, people messaging us, messaging other people. And so we didn't really cover it last week because the story was continuing to develop and change and all kind of details were coming out. But it seems like things have kind of calmed down for a little bit now. And we've heard several sources kind of talk about it and give their spin on it. And now that we have some more details, we can kind of give our thoughts on everything that's been going on with Kota Ibushi and New Japan. So for those of you, I'm sure pretty much everybody has kind of been seeing coverage now. I highly recommend you check out last week's Voice of Wrestling flagship. They did a good talk on it, as well as the Wrestling Observer. I get a little info on it, but pretty much the whole thing here, it seems like for whatever reason, Kota Ibushi is upset with New Japan management, and it seems to stem back all the way to the G1 last year, where he was kind of rushed back from the pneumonia to compete in the G1 and ended up getting hurt in the finals against Okada. They wanted him to come back sooner for Wrestle Kingdom and set up an angle during those December Korakuen shows. He wasn't ready. Then he was advertised for New Japan Cup, still wasn't ready. And then we saw this whole kind of back and forth with him and a guy named Kikuchi, who is what Ibushi called a booker, matchmaker in the office, which led to debates on people saying whether or not is Gato in charge, is Kikuchi guy in charge. So just a lot of back and forth. Kota Ibushi tweeting all kinds of things, referencing Yakuza could be involved, calling out people who are cheating on their wives. So all kinds of stuff coming out here. Ibushi's kind of been calm the last couple of days, it seems like. But young boy, what are your thoughts and takes on this whole Kota Ibushi situation?
Yeah, a lot to kind of unpack with this situation. So, I mean, kind of the summation that you gave I would say is pretty accurate, but I would also add the caveat that a few of those details have actually been flip-flopped depending on who the source of the information is. So that's been one of the difficult things about even trying to ascertain what has occurred here, because we've had various different individuals online sort of tweeting or translating the tweets that Kota Ibushi puts out there. And, even just speaking with people that understand or speak Japanese, they kind of said that his tweets already, the way he speaks, it's very like esoteric and very vague and kind of whimsical, sort of hard to understand and even interpret in the first place, so there's that. Then and those individuals that are doing those translations, that's great on them, good work that they're doing that. But even reading through those doesn't completely give the full picture. But we've seen some of the text messages that he's kind of like screenshotted and tweeted out, and then the translations of those. And then even like the investigative reporting, there's been just some differences depending on who the reports are coming from. Same thing with the translations. And so even just like a small minor detail that might seem insignificant, because there's conflicts of the reports, it gives an entire different, sometimes timeline or view of exactly what it was that occurred. So, far be it from me, I feel like I'm a pretty intelligent person, and I can't totally make heads or tails of exactly what has gone here or what has, caused it, or what's been the catalyst for everything. That being said, there's a few things that I do know. And I think you did a pretty good job sort of summing it all up. Kota Ibushi's angry. And I feel like it's similar to like a situation where, like, if you have an ex that doesn't give a fuck, and that, you shouldn't fuck around on them, okay? Because once they're burned, if they're crazy, they will destroy your world, and they will burn it to the ground with no sense of self-preservation. They will go down with the ship, and that is Kota Ibushi right now. Someone in New Japan fucked around on him. I don't know who. I guess Kikuchi, maybe others, and he was like, you know what? I don't need to wrestle anyways. Fuck this shit. Yakuza, people cheating, you stole from me, sexual improprieties. And it's like, oh my God, what is going on? So there's that. And then, it's kind of been quiet on the New Japan front, but from the one thing that we have heard and that we do know is that, like, basically the house cleaning that is going on within the internal body of them, it's not just with New Japan, it goes all the way up to like their parent companies and different people involved there, that's very uncommon with their company, that individuals from Bushi Road or otherwise, or even TV Asahi might interfere and have anything to do with what's going on in New Japan as a whole. I will say that, historically speaking, these kinds of claims and allegations that have been thrown out there have been detrimental to wrestling companies and other companies in the past. Sexual impropriety, that's a huge thing in Japan. But even further than that, any sort of whisper or allegation of Yakuza or organized crime and I'm not the expert on Japanese criminal law, but like over the past couple decades, like the reformations that have taken place within business, even just the mention going back to like 2007, there were organized crime ties to Pride Fighting Championship, which was the largest MMA promotion in the world, and it sunk them overnight. Just one news story with the word Yakuza in it made every sponsor pull all of their sponsorships, and UFC was able to pick up that property for $2 million. That's like basically the same thing that happened with WWF and WCW, just because the mention of Yakuza. So you know, that's something that the company is going to take very seriously, like one way or the other. Now, I don't know about where things go from here as far as like the relationship between New Japan and Kota Ibushi, or what the outcome of any of this will be. But it's been a very like kind of difficult thing to even wrap your mind around. Like, and I think a lot of it again just comes down to the language barrier here, and then also just Kota Ibushi being himself. But it sounds to be like he's got some serious gripes, but also in the world of Japanese professional wrestling, the way that he has handled it, and I'm not saying who's right or wrong, because I don't know. This is kind of outside of my scope, but I will tell you that mentioning people's shoot roles over there and breaking kayfabe and releasing, what's considered like proprietary information, like a private text message chain with a booker or someone that's on a booking committee, and also, speaking out against these sorts of things in that sort of public form and manner. In the old days of wrestling, you'd get blackballed in Japan. I mean, totally, like that would be seen as like you were completely unprofessional. You don't give a fuck. We're not working with you. Doesn't matter if it's a Big Japan. Doesn't matter if it's a DDT. Like the only place that maybe he could go at that point in this landscape is like the slummiest of slummy like Japanese wrestling companies, or like Dragon Gate. So maybe things are going to get smoothed out between him and New Japan, and I wouldn't be surprised by that either. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on. I just kind of know the basic ball points that you like mentioned, and I think the whole thing is super confusing, honestly.
Yeah, like you mentioned, depending on who you've been following on this story, there have been some flip-flops in where Ibushi said he was ready at certain points, but New Japan wasn't ready for him, and then points where New Japan was ready for him, but he wasn't ready. So depending on where you follow there, like you mentioned, Kota Ibushi, he tweets and speaks, and when he speaks Japanese, it's a very vague way, so you don't know exactly who or what he's talking about. So again, when translating, that's been very hard as well. And then, like you mentioned, him going about this thing, not saying he was wrong, but according in Japan culture, there were some wrestlers who kind of made some comments on Twitter, on media outlets, kind of talking about how unprofessional Kota Ibushi is. I know Hideki Suzuki was one that tweeted, and I think Yano said something on his podcast. So it seems like there were a lot of guys who were kind of upset in the way Ibushi was handling this gripe and not kind of going, working his way up the chain of command behind doors and not making this whole kind of big public thing. Because obviously this is going to, like you mentioned Yakuza, that's a big blow to business. And so I think a lot of guys were kind of scared for their jobs and positions with that claim being thrown out there and how serious that is taken in Japan, having those ties there. So yeah, it's a very just kind of crazy situation. And like I said, it seems like Ibushi hasn't really tweeted anything in the last couple of days. So I don't know kind of where the communication is. Some of those tweets that he leaked between him and Kikuchi, there seemed to be like Kikuchi threatening Ibushi's contract, and Ibushi just kind of seeming like, whatever, you can fire me. And there was also Ibushi showing up at a JTO show in March that was not an approved appearance. He was a second for a wrestler. He was ringside, seen on camera. That was not approved, and so that's another situation. I think that kind of came out in those texts between him and Kikuchi that he kind of had his unapproved appearance.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just been, like you mentioned, even further details like that, and I don't know necessarily, and I've never really been one to shy away from a particular topic or anything, and I'm not afraid for us to talk about it here. Trust me, we've spoken to plenty of people who don't want to, and I mean a lot. Like there's a lot of people out there that don't really want to deal with this subject in depth for rightful reasons. It makes sense, if you have any sort of connection to the Japanese wrestling world, you don't want to misspeak or say the wrong thing and upset one side or the other or anything of that nature. If you have any sort of like professional connections to this sort of thing. And there's a lot of people out there here in the West that do. With us, though, we always give the in-depth takes and opinions and the reviews and everything like that. And, we talk about the hard subjects, but this isn't necessarily one where I'm trying to shy away from it because I don't want to speak on it. It's more like I don't want to speak too much on it because I don't fully grasp or comprehend what has happened here at all. We understand some of the claims that Ibushi's made, some of the gripes and some of the things he's upset with, and we've seen the actions, and then we've heard reports of what's going on internally with New Japan. But beyond that, I mean, we know as much as the next person. I will say, we're not in contact with anyone that's giving us okay, here's what's happening. Kikuchi's talking to Gato, and Gato's talking to, we don't know all that. And I don't know what the future holds with Ibushi. Now, I did see that, I don't know if this matters at all, but I mean, past few days, Ibushi and Kenny did get listed as the free match of the week, kind of like a precursor to Forbidden Door. So their G1 match, I think that's a positive sign. I saw something with Kadani, a tweet that he put out there that referenced Ibushi, and it seemed to be a positive thing, and that maybe is a well-wishing sign. I don't know. And then even just as early as Saturday, during the Super Juniors press conference, TJP made mention of Ibushi. Now that could be a little bit more off the cuff, but we're not hearing stories of him getting reprimanded or anything for dropping the name of a fired or released or separated or being punished talent. So there's also that. So I think there's a couple signs in the positive, but I mean, until and I think that the depth of the reporting that's capable of happening has occurred here, but until we hear more, I mean, I can't sit here and tell you who's in the right or the wrong aside from just the surface information we have right now,
Right. It's so hard to follow just through all the translations and the he says, she says kind of thing. And, everybody who's been covering it is doing a good job. Obviously there are people other than us that have, inside locker room sources. They have connections to some of the Japanese speaking wrestlers and kind of getting their thoughts and feedback from those guys. So I think all the details, as much as possible, is kind of out there from the Western side. And now we just kind of sit back and kind of see how the thing plays out and what New Japan's going to do. There was reports of Gato trying to smooth things over. So like you mentioned, maybe that's been the process and maybe they've talked to Ibushi and maybe they've settled things. Who knows? Or maybe they're working through what the agreement is going to be. But clearly the fire seems to be kind of dying down a little bit.
Yeah, and what I meant by some of the things I said earlier is basically this: we're not afraid to broach this subject. I mean, if we knew, or at least me, if I knew that Kota Ibushi was 100% in the wrong here, I'd be like, fuck that guy. He did this. Here's where he's wrong. Blah blah blah. But or if it was New Japan, fuck this dude, and fuck you, New Japan. Here you go. Blah blah blah. But it's not like that right now. I don't actually know. I can't make heads or tails of it. The only thing I do know is that there's multiple sides to these types of stories, and the things that Ibushi has said seem to line up with reports that existed out there in the past already, and kind of what was already being speculated by those in the fan base that are sort of in the know. Some of that seems to add some validity there. Especially remember the story about the merch and him not getting money from the AEW or from the
Elite,
the Golden Elite t-shirts and stuff like that from Pro Wrestling Tees.
Yeah.
So I mean, even that seems to be corroborated by some of the reports that are out there. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about exactly, Voice of Wrestling Patreon, they have the full report, and there's been a few other news reports that are out there too. So check that stuff out. But yeah, it's hard to say. I do know that a lot of people are not going to be happy about the way Ibushi has dealt with all this publicly. That is going to be frowned upon generally and seen as an unprofessional thing. But I don't know how long lasting those, if there's any sort of punishment that might, how far that goes, how long that might last, that sort of thing. I will say though, I can't remember. I do remember lots of times where Ibushi has said and done outlandish things, but I can't ever remember him like having a this kind of like blow up, publicly.
Right. Yeah.
And that speaks volumes as well.
Right. I think when this initially started, people just thought about, LOL, Ibushi's just being goofy and silly again. He's saying wild and crazy things. And, he has a history, like you mentioned, of kind of, being Ibushi and saying and doing crazy things. I mean, this is a guy who, shoots fireworks off his chest and, bumps on the back of his neck on concrete. Like, he does crazy things. He gets lost in airports. Like, he does and says a lot of crazy stuff. And so I think initially people were like, oh, it's just Ibushi being Ibushi. But the more tweets came out and the more of the story was developing, it definitely seemed like, all right, this is a lot more serious than Ibushi just, tweeting random stuff.
Hey, if nothing else, I now know who Kikuchi is. So, it's added that to our life.
Well, we think we know who Kikuchi is.
Oh, we know. Also, I love the part where they threatened his job, and he's pretty much just like, so what? It just completely reminded me of like that Ric Flair promo where it's like, fire me! I'm already fired! Fire me!
Oh my gosh.
I hate you. So yeah, that is my in-depth analysis of the Ibushi situation.
Yeah, we just had a few questions here. This first one more of a statement than a question. I guess kind of a question. Rambo and Slampick says, to reiterate from last week, WTF Ibushi. So
go ask him. I don't know.
Hayabusa 5595 says, since Kota stopped tweeting, do you think both sides are talking? Could this be resolved, or are we looking at serious legal or personnel matters?
I think both are likely scenarios, honestly.
Right. Again, we don't know exactly where things stand right now, but it seems like Gato or somebody in the company is trying to smooth things over. So, but again, like you mentioned, Bushi Roads getting involved, TV Asahi, and if they feel like people maybe have ties to Yakuza, they could clean house and some things could shift up in the power structure in New Japan.
They'd be idiotic not to take some sort of action like that. I did see one tweet from an individual that was like, you think that the Yakuzas, because Ibushi put out a tweet talking about his personal safety and concerns and yada yada. And so then, this is right when the Yakuza stuff first got thrown out there. And, a lot of people were kind of reacting very fearfully and, with concern for the well-being of Kota Ibushi. So I saw this one idiot tweet. He's like, you think the Yakuza's just going to go and murder international celebrity Kota Ibushi? And I didn't respond to it, but I just saw that and I was like, yes, that's what they do. Do you know nothing about Puroresu? Do you not know who Ricky Dozan is and how he died? That's exactly what happened to the biggest cultural phenomenon in the history of Japanese wrestling. Ricky Dozan was murdered by a Yakuza member. Yes, this could happen very easily. Look at what happened in FMW too. Like, there is precedence for this.
Yeah. And last question here from Razor Pumping Bomba says, do you think there's a way that Kota Ibushi and NJPW will come to a solution that leads to him staying with the company, or is that relationship burned for the foreseeable future?
Wrestling is a really strange thing. I mean, we've seen all kinds of countless, issues expand into, lifelong strifes with multiple companies being created out of it and, just complete rifts that change and shape the history of pro wrestling. And then at the same time, we've seen people that had terrible professional relations and personal relations come together, do business, make money together. And there's no telling which way this is going. It could be either of those two things. Would I be surprised, based on the history of wrestling, if Kota Ibushi and New Japan like get this wrapped up and he's competing in the ring with them again soon? No, I wouldn't. But if he ends up stateside or something like that, don't be surprised. I don't know.
Yeah, again, I think it could go either way. I think obviously Kota Ibushi's a very big star. He's a very talented wrestler. He's somebody that they want to keep. I mean, they made him the first, unified world heavyweight champion in this new kind of era of, New Japan Pro Wrestling. And so obviously I think they see a lot of value in him, and I think they would want to keep him. But again, I guess it just comes down, maybe does he even want to stay there? Does he still want to wrestle? So a lot of unanswered questions that will hopefully be answered soon.
I don't trust wrestlers when they say they don't want to wrestle anymore. After that juice stuff, like, I just can't take anything they say at face value, Fucking liars.
A bunch of carnies.
Bunch of liars is what they are. People call it working. Oh, that's a cute word for lie. Deceiver.
All right, let's start talking about some New Japan action here. So we're going to start in New Japan of America, kind of go in chronological order here of the shows that happened over the last week. So Friday, May 13th, New Japan Strong aired the first episode of the Mutiny Tour, which is kind of a little bit of a go-home show for the Capital Collision show on Saturday. So the show opened up. We had Adrian Quest, Alex Coughlin, and our good friend Rocky Romero defeating the Team Filthy team of Black Tiger, Danny Limelight, and J.R. Kratos, 8 minutes and 33 seconds.
Yeah, this was fine. Everybody was out there, hitting their spots, doing their thing. I feel like we've seen a million 6-man and 8-man tags with Team Filthy, and then, Team USA. What would you call them? USA Hantai,
yeah,
I guess. So it's nothing surprising here. Alex Coughlin and Kratos had their awesome spots in the middle of the match. Adrian Quest flying around. Rocky was great. Danny Limelight flying around. Black Tiger doing what he does. But the two big stories here essentially were the Kratos Coughlin interactions, and then Rocky Romero and Black Tiger's ongoing feud.
Yeah, post-match, Rocky said that he's coming for Black Tiger, issued a challenge for the next time they're back in California. I think that's going to be on the Ignition Tour in June. He said, I'll put my hair up on the line. You can put your mask up on the line. Like, we'll figure it out. We'll get the steps ready. But I want you to face me in my hometown with the crowd behind me so you can hear those Rocky chants. So we're eventually going to get some kind of big blow-off match between Rocky and Black Tiger.
Yeah, very interesting. We'll see where that goes. I mean, I made some pretty bold proclamations about this show last week when we were doing the preview for it, and I ended up being completely wrong. So I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, we're going to finally find out who Black Tiger is. Like, I don't know. But, hopefully it's not a weak payoff. Hopefully it leads to something good. So,
yeah.
The other post-match thing, though, that was really crazy was Kratos and Coughlin, and Kratos just completely demolishing Alex Coughlin and causing him to get the stretch job.
Yeah, that's right. Stretching him out, and that's why he was off of Capital Collision, and he did make his comeback at the Collision tapings the next day. Also, but this was filmed quite a while ago, so yeah, this kind of injury angle here to just kind of add a new, level of intensity between what's been going on between Coughlin and J.R. Kratos.
Definitely. Also, is that the feud of the year in New Japan? For me right now, that might be.
Yeah, Coughlin and Kratos, I think that's definitely a top contender. You look at the singles match they had, and then every interaction that's been in these, 6-man, 8-man, 10-man tags. The Coughlin-Kratos interactions are always the highlight of those matches, and, the big power spot where Coughlin finally, does a big suplex or power slam on Kratos always gets a huge pop no matter which city they're in. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be a top contender for that award.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that's not it, then the feud that's centered in the second match here could be the other contender. We had a handicap match with the West Coast Wrecking Crew, Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs, as they defeated Fred Rosser 7 minutes and 28 seconds. And the stipulation here was if Fred Rosser defeated the West Coast Wrecking Crew, he would automatically get a title shot for the strong openweight title. And he failed in this, in this quest, which completely went against what I thought was the logic of the booking here. But then post-match, we figured out what was really going on.
Yeah, it was very surprising. Normally you see this kind of handicap match. We've seen it in WWE and, in wrestling across time where you have the big, number one contender babyface fighting for a title shot. He goes up against a tag team. He ends up beating the tag team and gets his title shot. But here, they use the logic of, the West Coast Wrecking Crew, they are one of the best tag teams on Strong, quote unquote, one of the best tag teams in the world. It makes sense for this great tag team to be able to beat one really good singles wrestler, and that was kind of the logic here they had. Rosser just couldn't, outmaneuver or outwork these two guys who have been teaming for a long time and one of the top teams. So that was very surprising that they get the win on him. And then post-match, Filthy Tom comes in. He was on commentary during this match. He comes into the ring and, is saying, Tom, Rosser, you want this title shot so bad, well, if I'm going to give it to you, you got to give me something. He's like, you know what? I think you look better bald. Why don't you go ahead and shave your head, and maybe I'll give you the title shot. And they have a razor out there, and Isaac is, teasing, shaving the head, and Rosser grabs a razor, and he starts shaving off his afro. And then Tom's like, you know what, Fred? The answer is still no. Then he's like, you know what? He's like, coming up, Collision is my birthday. What better birthday present to give myself than to get rid of the thorn in my side since Strong has begun? So he's like, Fred Rosser, I'll give you the title shot if you put your New Japan Strong career on the line. Like, I don't care. You can go wrestle anywhere else. You can go to Japan. You can go wherever else. But if I beat you, you can no longer wrestle on New Japan Strong.
Yeah, I thought this match was pretty good. I liked the logic that, the best tag team in the company is not going to be bested by even one of the top stars of this, show. So that was cool. But then, post-match, I felt like the entire angle that you just sort of described for us was so well done. I mean, there's a lot of heat here, especially like the moment where they offer the Clippers to Fred Rosser, and then he just started, kind of haphazardly just shaving his hair off, showing like, I don't care, like whatever it takes, I want this shot. And then when they tell him like he's standing there half shaved, half bald, and then no, you're not getting the title shot, yeah. Bro. I was like, bro, that got heat with me. I was like, bro, I hope he kicks this dude's fucking ass. Like, I don't care now. Like,
yeah, because it's the second time that he's made him shave his head in this feud.
Oh, and then Filthy took a bunch of the hair and put it in his mouth again. This is the second time he did. He's chewing on it, and like that just really grosses me out. But then the crowd goes, swallow it, spits it out, and he goes, I'm not like the rest of you.
Oh man.
But yeah, man. And then, we finally got the setup. Like, this is it. It's happening. The trilogy match. Rosser versus Tom Lawler for the title versus career. I love the stakes. I love the setup. I love the matches. I'm hyped for this, and I'm ready for it to come.
Yeah, and so the title match was taped this past weekend on the Collision tapings in Philadelphia. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I highly recommend that you do not listen to Wrestling Observer for the next couple of weeks, because they've been talking about the result often on a lot of the shows that Brian Alvarez is on. So if you want to stay spoiler-free, avoid those shows. Try to stay out of the New Japan Strong circles online, because the results are floating around.
I mean, I can imagine exactly. It's either going to be, and still the strong openweight champion, Tom Lawler, or he's going to be like, man, the former champion, Tom Lawler. Like, they're going to say it a bunch of times. It's like, so right. I haven't been listening.
So the main event of night one of Mutiny was the USFJ Open Challenge Series match with Switchblade Jay White defeating Hikuleo 18 minutes and 33 seconds. Obviously, this all stems from Jay White kicking out Hikuleo's brothers, Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, out of the Bullet Club. And then we saw the angle right here in St. Petersburg, Florida, during the Strong Style Evolve tapings, where Hikuleo and Jay White kind of had this confrontation at the end of the tapings, and Hikuleo, pretty much saying, why can't the future be now? Why can't I be the leader of Bullet Club, which led to this clash here.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of interesting. There's quite a few people in this group that seem to be angling for, potential leadership control. I mean, you got Jay, you got Evil, you got Hikuleo, you got, ELP, lots of different guys that think that maybe they have what it takes to be the man in that group. But I thought this match was good. Not great, but probably Hikuleo's best match, I would say. It's one of those things where it's kind of cliche to be like he's so improved, but he is always improving almost every time I see him get in the ring, and it's not cap. I saw a bunch of people that were hating on like Twitter, trying to like claim that this guy's never had it, doesn't have it. That's not what I see whatsoever. If that's how I felt, I would just say it. But I think Hikuleo's a guy that's got a lot of upside, a lot of potential. He's got a great look. And I think he got carried here. I think Jay kind of showed his generalship and his experience in calling the match and sort of leading him through to something that was very competent and pretty exciting. I thought the finish of the match was really well done. And this was sort of a bit of a test. I thought Hikuleo passed. So
yeah, I think the one thing that we really got to see here was Hikuleo selling. Because, a lot of times in matches that he's had on Strong, he's usually pretty dominant, or he's, they're squash matches, or he's, winning pretty easily. He's usually in pretty short matches. But here, 18-minute main event, Jay White working over the legs and the knees, trying to do the TTO submission hold. And Hikuleo really had to sell here in this match. We saw his selling facial expressions, and he fought from underneath for the first time in a long time here on Strong, and just could not overcome Jay White. Jay was able to hit the Blade Runner at the end here and get the win, Hikuleo. And then post-match, we kind of get the confrontation, what's going to happen now that is, Hikuleo going to get kicked out. But Jay offers him the too sweet, and they too sweet, and it seems like Hikuleo is going to be in Bullet Club for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't give any indication that he was planning to leave. It. If anything, it seemed like this sort of solidified his position within Bullet Club and kind of solidified his relationship with Jay as the leader, and him sort of becoming like a somewhat of a lieutenant or underling. So,
right.
And I think we're kind of going to talk about that more when we get to the Capital Collision review, but that was sort of my vision of how this all played out.
Yeah, in the post-match promo, we kind of got a good promo from Jay that kind of links back to stuff he was saying back when he joined Chaos. Remember, back when he joined Chaos, he was saying, why can't guys in factions challenge the leader? Because when he was in Chaos, he wanted to challenge Okada. He's like, why can't guys, challenge each other in factions? Why do we have to fight other factions? He brought that back here in his post-match promo. He's like, this is what I've been saying from day one. It's okay for guys in factions to fight each other. It's okay to step up to the leader and see what you got. I'm glad Hikuleo stepped up to me. And so kind of, bringing it full circle in that whole story. And Jay's always kind of wanted to see faction mates fight each other and, see what they got against each other.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it too, as well. And I think that it kind of creates a different dimension of that person's character that we get to see on display that's not usually there when they're facing a natural enemy or a natural foil. We kind of get to a little bit more insight seeing how they respond to wrestling a stablemate and someone they train with and a friend. And, we're seeing some of that in Super Juniors as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So next week will be night 2 of the Mutiny Tour. We're going to have Brody King, Russ Taylor, and Mascot Arata taking on the United Empire team of Great Okan, Aaron Hanare, and TJP. The Alpha Wolf, Carl Fredericks, and the Wild Rhino, Clark Connors, will be taking on Aaron Solo and Nick Komoroto from the Factory. And then Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson, will be taking on Ren Narita. So they will be airing this Dickinson match. And Dickinson did compete against Tanahashi on Sunday on the Collision Philadelphia taping. So it seems like New Japan is going to move forward with using Chris Dickinson, and they haven't really made a statement. There hasn't really been any updates on the scenario, but it seems like they're just going to push forward.
Yeah, remember earlier on the episode how I said if there was an issue in New Japan, I would say something about it. I'm going to say something about it here. Now, no matter what your opinion is of the situation with Chris Dickinson and who's right, who's wrong, whatever your opinion is, that's irrelevant. New Japan as a company, they had enough foresight so that they took Chris Dickinson off the Capital Collision show. Now, did they say explicitly that they were doing that because of the allegations and the ongoing situation? Not necessarily. They didn't say that specifically. But one would believe that that's what was going on just due to the timing and the nature of it all and how quietly they sort of handled that whole thing. And I think they kind of knew, like, hey, this is a hot topic right now. If we have this guy come out and compete and it's on a live pay-per-view feed, that might not be good for us. You know, who knows what reactions he might get? Who knows what kind of publicity we might get? So they had enough foresight to take him off that show. But then the very next night, they had him and Tanahashi compete in a singles match. And this occurred even though they stopped advertising the match and made it seem as though it might not even be happening any longer. That screams to me shady practices, I gotta say. I'm not usually one to say that, but like if you took the guy off the one night and then you put him on the next night, even though you stopped advertising it and you didn't say anything, and you haven't put out any kind of acknowledgement, anything here in the West, that's not a good look whatsoever, you know? And I mean, I'm saying this like, let's just assume 100% Chris Dickinson is 100% in the right, didn't do anything wrong whatsoever. I mean, he took himself off of shows because he didn't want to draw attention from it, and was talking about how he was going to use every resource to his ability to clear his name and to deal with the allegations. So far, there's been no sign of that. There's been no indication that that's happening, and there's been nothing from the company. That's not a fucking good look at all. It's not. Yeah, I would say it'd be better for them to just go full hog and just, if you're going to do it this way, you might as well just kept him on the Capital Collision show and just kept running with him. Like, why pull him?
Right, and this book, I totally agree with you. There should have been a statement put out, you know, even if they think that he's in the right, they should have put out statements like, you know, New Japan has done an investigation and we've found nothing wrong with Chris Dickinson, and we're going to continue to use him until furthermore evidence is provided, or whatever they want to say.
However they wanted to say, whatever it is they wanted to say, but they didn't. The whole thing just screams like, you know, by the time this airs, you know what I mean? Hopefully. And I mean, this isn't the first time that New Japan has brought someone that had allegations and, you know, was kind of viewed in a particular light in the public and try to put them on strong tapings.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, for New Japan, this situation, Chris Dickinson was not as big of a star as Marty Scurll. So the Marty thing got a ton of attention. I was looking at how people would have reacted from, you know, the Philadelphia pictures and the announcement of the Ren Narita match this coming Saturday. And I did not see a ton of people that were like, oh my gosh, they're using Dickinson. I can't believe that. Obviously, the people in the know kind of had that reaction, but I saw a lot of people just like, oh, cool. You know, Dickinson's wrestling Narita this week. And so there wasn't a lot of people probably don't even know exactly what's going on in that whole situation.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, like, I on the one hand, I feel like this show, we've talked about it. JCast, they've talked about it. And it's like, I don't feel like we're approaching it because we want to get more eyes on it necessarily. In one respect, I sort of felt like it was out there and everyone was talking about it. But it's more like it shouldn't be something that should be skirted around or go unacknowledged. It's very much a thing that should be acknowledged. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, we've seen how it plays out. If enough people are upset within the company and without, then maybe things will change. And if nobody says anything and they like the guy, it'll probably be a similar Michael Elgin situation,
Yeah. Well, let's move on now to Capital Collision, which was Saturday, May 14th. Another New Japan event affected by COVID-19. So originally, Trent Barretta was supposed to be on the show teaming with Kazuchika Okada in the semi-main event. Barretta did test positive for COVID-19, which forced him off of the pay-per-view, and he got replaced by our good friend Rocky Romero, and Rocky got pulled out of the 10-man tag and was replaced by the DKC, and then the DKC was replaced in the dark match by Nick Komoroto against Kevin Knight. So moving on to the actual show here. So the show kicked off with the Alpha Wolf, Carl Fredericks, taking on Ren Narita, defeating Ren Narita at 10 minutes and 32 seconds. This was the second matchup between these two guys. Narita had defeated Fredericks earlier in the LA Dojo Showcase on Strong a while back. So Fredericks here getting the win back, tying these guys up 1-1. And I thought this was a great way to kick off the show here. These guys were hard-hitting, going back and forth. There's so many great sequences here. Narita just going for the belly-to-belly suplex. There was a great near submission with the Narita special number 3, that rolling leg lace cloverleaf that Narita does. But in the end of the match here, Fredericks was able to overcome and lay Narita out with the Manifest Destiny. And Narita took a nasty spike bump on this DDT, got laid out here. Carl Fredericks gets the win, ties up. They both kind of embrace after the match, and both of them kind of saying, we're 1-1 now. We got to run it back one more time and see, who truly is the better man. But Fredericks didn't get long to celebrate as he was ambushed by QT Marshall in the factory. And they laid out Fredericks and set up the angle for the upcoming match that was taped on the Philadelphia tapings.
Yeah, so I didn't see the first half of this show. I am gonna do the catch up tomorrow while I'm working, but yeah, this weekend's been crazy between Strong, Super Juniors, the press conference, Super Juniors Part 2, and Capital Collision. I mean, it's been a lot to kind of cover. I did catch from the Brody King Minoru Suzuki match, but I didn't see this match. But what would you have given your final ratings on this one?
I went 3.75 on this one.
Okay, so I mean, for a 10-minute opener, that's pretty good.
Yeah, these guys are working fast-paced, hard-hitting, great near falls. It was a really fun matchup. Great way to open the show.
Nice.
So then following that, we had the Team Filthy team of Dane Limelight, Jarrell Nelson, Jared Kratos, Royce Isaac, and Tom Lawler. They defeated the team of David Finley, Fred Rosser, Tangaloa, the DKC, and Yuya Uemura at 14 minutes and 48 seconds. Like we said last week, these Team Filthy 10-man tags are always fun on these pay-per-view shows, and this one was quite the same here. Really good back-and-forth action. Also, this match has a lot of feuds kind of mixed in it. Also, the main thing here being the Tom Lawler and Fred Rosser match. This was kind of the last match to set up the title match that was taped the next day. And throughout the match, Rosser was just gunning for Tom the whole time. And he would tag in, and Tom would be on the apron. He would go right after Tom. And so a lot of great back-and-forth action here. Match ended with Dane Limelight hitting a tornado DDT on the DKC to get the win here. So Team Filthy getting the momentum going into the title match the next day. But after the match, Finley did go wild with the shillelagh, and Team Rosser did stand tall as Team Filthy retreated, but Team Filthy still got the win. So then following that, we had one half of the IWGP heavyweight tag team champions, the crown jewel Chase Owens. He defeats the Great O-Khan 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Pretty quick matchup here. It's also just setting up the Dominion tag title match that's coming up next month. Fine back and forth. Ended pretty quick here. Great O-Khan over in DC just like he was in Chicago. Chase Owens gets the win with a roll-up and getting his feet on the rope. So cheating to beat the Great O-Khan. The fans did not like this one bit, but Chase stealing one here from O-Khan. This would be the first of several defeats here for the United Empire group and first of many wins for the Bullet Club group. So then after that, we had Bad Dude Tito and the Mighty Don't Kneel, Jonah, Mikey Nichols, and Shane Hayes. They defeated the United Empire team of Aaron Henare, Jeff Cobb, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis, 12 minutes and 9 seconds. Another fun multi-man matchup here. The big highlight was when Jeff Cobb and Jonah finally got their big face-off and got to go head-to-head. The crowd was going crazy for these two big men just slamming each other and throwing blows at each other. And it was great stuff here. I'd love to see these guys in a full G1 style matchup here. But these guys going back and forth towards the end. The Mighty Don't Kneel of Nichols and Hayes, they were able to hit their double-team move onto Kyle Fletcher and get the win for their team. Jonah and Jeff Cobb had a lot of jaw-jacking after the match, and then at the end of the match, Nichols, he pointed to Bad Dude Tito and pointed to the logo on his tights, and Tito shook all their hands, so it seems like Bad Dude Tito is now officially a member of TMDK, and we're having this whole new TMDK here on New Japan Strong.
That sounds pretty exciting. Just the idea that we sort of have a reformed / new version of TMDK in New Japan. I mean, people are always asking for shakeups to the, the faction system. But one thing we seldom take into consideration is the freelance, factions that might exist out there that could just come into New Japan as well. Sort of like Strong Hearts and sort of like TMDK here.
Yeah, and I'm happy about this because I love Bad Dude Tito. I think he's been great in his appearances on Strong thus far. And so this kind of cements him here a little bit more in New Japan, and seems like he'll be brought back more. And there was a rematch of this 8-man tag on the Philadelphia taping. So it seems like this feud will be continuing between United Empire and TMDK. So then the next match we had Brody King defeating Minoru Suzuki 9 minutes and 5 seconds. And this one was, it was quick, but it was a slugfest.
Yeah, quick slugfest. I would call this the Minoru Suzuki, indie match plus, because it was a little bit more than what he's doing on the indies now. He gave just a little bit more to Brody King, a little bit more effort. But, the real surprising thing was towards the tail end, Suzuki was just dominating him. He's winning the strike exchanges, putting him to sleep with all the rear nakeds, winning all the submission, control battles. And then it looked like he was about to get the gotch, which would have fit right in line with the type of match he's been having all over the U.S. lately. Except for magically, he didn't. He wasn't able to, pull it off on a guy the size of Brody King. Brody King was able to, reverse it, get some offense of his own, and then suddenly hits the fucking Gonzo bomb. And it's like, oh my God, lariat, Gonzo bomb. See him, Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah, dude, the Gonzo bomb just looks so crazy, especially with a guy as big as Brody King doing it. So he got Suzuki. I was like, oh my gosh, don't kill Suzuki. It's drilled him with the Gonzo bomb. It's such a great looking finisher. Yeah, I guess it's kind of big win here. Last week we kind of predicted that, Suzuki would get the win here and Brody King would kind of lay down. But yeah, Brody King getting the big win here in quick fashion. Suzuki worked over his hand throughout the match because Brody King went for a chop at one point in the match and he ended up chopping the post on the outside. So Suzuki worked over his hand throughout the match. But yeah, Brody was able to overcome that, like he mentioned, overcome the strikes, get out of the gotch, and hit the big Gonzo bomb for the win. So then Following that, we had the Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii defeating Eddie Kingston 16 minutes and 7 seconds.
Yeah, so I mean, this was everything that most people expected it to be. I kind of misspoke last week and talked about, like, if they had a certain type of match, then we would know that, like, Eddie Kingston might be just talk and not willing to back it up. That was not the case. And then you pointed out the match he had with Gabe Kidd earlier this year, and then I recalled that. This was just as hard hitting. This was a slugfest, man. I mean, this was a real slugfest, like a war. These guys were just going back and forth with headbutts, elbows, chops, kicks, backhands, headbutts, everything. Like this was awesome. And then, once they got out of the strike exchanges and started working towards the tail end with all the big, suplex variants on one another. Yeah, I mean, for everything I might have talked to junk last week about Eddie Kingston not really being quote unquote King's Road style. I don't know if I'd call it King's Road, but it was definitely a tribute or a homage to King's Road style, because they were dropping each other on their heads and just lariating the crap out of each other and just pulling out all the awesome 90s offense. Like, I loved this. Not only did I love this, but it'd be hard for me to imagine anybody else surpassing Tomohiro Ishii as Wrestler of the Month right now. Between this match, the match he had with
Tanahashi.
Yeah, Tanahashi, and given the way things have been going so far in the Super Junior tournament, someone's gonna have to, like, really put in some big time performances to surpass this guy right now.
Yeah, and I know we typically don't count excursion work, but he did have the awesome world title match against Josh Alexander in Impact as well, and he's been on Impact.
Yeah, but I don't watch Impact.
I'm just saying, it's the stuff's on World. It's a cherry on top.
I won't watch it. I'm just playing.
But yeah, this match was so awesome. Kingston busting out the King's Road playbook and the big suplexes and uranagis and spinning back fists, and obviously Ishii doing his big offense. The great double down spots they had here. Like, this match was just so awesome. I went 4.5 on this thing. Like, this match was at this point the match of the night, and Ishii got Kingston up at the end here with the big vertical drop brainbuster and put Kingston away. I think people were worried about AEW guys getting the clean sweep here, but Ishii was able to overcome Tony Khan and his booking plans and defeat Eddie Kingston.
I think Tony Khan listened last week and was like, oh, that's what's happening? Okay, I'm gonna use my weight to, get Kingston over Ishii. Fuck it. Kingston, you're laying down. That'll show those Kiss boys.
And Eddie Kingston did come out here with the bandage by his face where he got the fireball from the Wizard Chris Jericho on AEW a couple of weeks ago. So, trying to sell that, but, halfway through the match, he rips the bandit off. He looks perfectly fine, but,
Yeah, I didn't know why he had the bandage on, and then they pulled it off. There's nothing there, and I was like, what was this about? I forgot about the fireball angle. That's pretty funny. But I will go on the record and say this, for me, was easily the match of the night.
Yeah, this was an awesome matchup here. And, Kingston trying to be like Mox when Mox had to sell the eye injury during the G1, or I forget which match it was. I think it was an Ishii match that he had to sell Suzuki match. He had to sell the eye injury, but just had, the patch came off and his eye looked fine. But yeah, this is definitely, match of the night, hard-hitting slugfest, strong style. This will probably end up being a strong style fight of the year contender, and definitely one I would say go out of your way to watch. And one of the things to mention real quick was the stream for Fight TV just looked absolutely great. People said, or New Japan said, that they were going to work on improvements for the stream and make things better for the stream going forward, and they did. I watched the show on Fight TV. No issues at all. The stream didn't drop at all, and the quality looked really, really good. So I'm glad that New Japan was able to figure things out there, and that the Fight TV feed was really good for this show.
Yeah, that was something I was going to ask you about. Since I didn't see the whole show, I wasn't entirely sure about all the production snafus we've mentioned in the past. I did. There was one slight issue during this particular match, the Ishii and Kingston match. Sort of like it almost seemed like a lag or something jumped, like a time jump. But the picture quality was great. The sound was great. At least from the second half of the show. The way it was shot was done really well for the most part. They were catching most things. A huge improvement over what we've seen over the last 2 years of US, production for independent shows that were not strong, even some strong taping. So was that the way it was all throughout the show?
Yeah, the whole show, I had no issues. Feed didn't drop one time. The quality looked good the whole way through.
And you watched it live, right?
Yeah, so it looked good. It was good. And I saw no other people complaining on Twitter. So seems like the improvements worked, and seems like they finally figured out this pay-per-view thing here.
Well, I still don't think they figured out pay-per-view because they're doing it way too often, and I don't know. Like, even us doing this show, I feel I don't want to pay $20 every 2 months or every month to cover a show here in the States.
Right. It should be on NJPW World, or on Access TV, but
something.
Yeah. So after this match, we had a surprise appearance from the man of the hour, Lio Rush. Came out, got a big hometown pop. He's from Washington, D.C. Big welcome home chants. Got the mic, said that he's not cleared to come back yet, but when he is cleared, the landscape of the entire junior heavyweight division will change. He called out Robbie Eagles, Taiji Ishimori, Hiromu Takahashi, and others. Said his time is slowly approaching, and whether he'll show up on Strong or in New Japan proper, or maybe both, that we will see him soon. And so seems like Lio Rush will be back in New Japan once he's cleared. Probably be part of Strong initially, and then we know there was rumors at one point he was supposed to be in Best of Super Juniors before COVID happened. So I'm sure if he was not injured, he probably would be in the tournament right now. So I'm assuming that we're probably going to get a big Lio Rush junior title match maybe later this year if he's cleared.
And if he doesn't retire again.
Yeah. So following that, we have the semi-main event of the evening. Bull Club team of Hikuleo and Switchblade Jay White. They defeated the Chaos team of Kazuchika Okada and our good friend Rocky Romero at 15 minutes and 59 seconds.
Yeah, so I thought that this tag match was good. I think a lot of the story, the appeal of the match obviously was just to kind of see Okada and Jay White mix it up once again. I didn't realize this, but they mentioned on commentary that, and check it, is this even correct? They said the last time they had a singles match was that Madison Square Garden show in 2019. I feel like they had to have wrestled in a G1 since then, or maybe, am I wrong?
I don't remember them wrestling. Let me go to Cage Match here and see if I could pull up their...
I'm there. I'll do it. I didn't even... I should have checked, but I just didn't do it. But yeah, I mean, that, in a company where we see... Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm right. They said the last time they wrestled was G1 Supercard, but they in fact did wrestle in the A block in 2020. So I knew that. I was like, that just seems so unlikely, like that they would keep them apart for coming up on 4 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That just seems so unlikely. But yeah, it's been a while since they have mixed it up. And kind of seeing this version of Jay White take on this version of Okada is a little different than how it was before. But the other kind of interesting tale was just Rocky's inclusion and the size differential between him and Hikuleo, and also kind of the back history between him and Jay White as well, with Jay White's defection from Chaos. That all kind of came into play here.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious when the match started off with Okada and Jay, and then eventually Jay tagged out to Hikuleo, and Rocky was like screaming for the tag, like, tag me in. And Okada was like, nah, you're too short. I'm not tagging you in. Thought that was pretty funny. And eventually Rocky got in and had to go up against Hikuleo, but they had some good back and forth spots there. And yeah, it was a really fun tag match, getting a good little preview for the Dominion World Heavyweight title match coming up with Okada and Jay White. So in the end here, the Bull Club team got the win with Jay White hitting the Blade Runner out of nowhere on Rocky Romero. Post-match, you had Jay and Okada kind of going back and forth with words, and Hikuleo reappeared, took out Okada. White gave him the Blade Runner and then held up the IWGP World Heavyweight title over Okada. Hikuleo would go for a chokeslam, but then Tangaloa, his brother, came out, former Bull Club member. He says you don't turn your back on family. But then Hikuleo left with White, but there was no physical confrontation between Hikuleo and his brother Tangaloa.
Yeah, I don't know if I totally loved this whole interaction. I mean, I'm definitely intrigued by the idea of, the family dynamic and these guys being split between different groups and everything, but the execution was a little wonky.
Yeah. I did listen to Tama's Island last week. Tama was finally back on the show and kind of talking about the situation with Hikuleo and saying, hey, I'm not mad at him. We all have to go our own path. He can go ahead and do the Bull Club thing, but if we ever have to come face to face, of course I'm going to whoop that ass. And so, kind of interesting. There hasn't really been like this whole, back and forth like smack talk. They seem to be okay, at least for now, with him being a Bull Club. So I don't know where this whole story is going to go.
Yeah, really interesting to see. I'm not sure either, actually.
Then Maserati asked us, is Rocky the mole in Chaos?
Bro, at this point, I think most people that go in there probably are moles. Like, there is no allegiance. Everybody that's in there is probably like spreading all the gossip to all their buddies on the outside. Like, I think it's a group full of moles.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Super Juniors here in a second, but Robbie Eagles asking about Utah. He's like, is he Chaos? Is he representing Chaos? Blackpool, like, what is he? Like, is he in our group or not? So it seems like the Chaos members don't even know who exactly is in the group or not.
Is Yo still part of Chaos? I don't know.
I think so.
Yes. Anybody could be. Literally.
The Briscoe is still in there, right?
Yep.
So a big main event here for the IWGP United States Heavyweight title. 4-way match. Rock hard. Juice Robinson. He defeats Hiroshi Tanahashi, Jon Moxley, and Will Ospreay to become the new and 3-time IWGP US Heavyweight Champion.
Once this match started playing out, it really did feel to a certain extent like the Juice Robinson show. That's not to say that everybody here didn't have a part or, got an opportunity to shine and had various stories. That was all prevalent and was here. But what I noticed was just the whole time the match was going on, it felt like on so many levels, the camera work, the layout of the match, the pacing, it all seemed to just favor Juice Robinson to a certain extent. And then kind of thinking about the history here, and you look at, Hiroshi Tanahashi sort of like represents to him like Hantai, his past, as well as like the shadow of the guy that saved New Japan that's always kind of been over him. And then you also kind of consider Jon Moxley, this like arch rival who right when Juice was sort of cascading to this new run, Jon Moxley knocked him down a peg, came and embarrassed him, and kind of knocked him down to a point where he never really did recover and sort of was that impetus for his D push. And then in the meantime, while all that was going on, you look at Will Ospreay, his ascension, a guy that was, junior to him and has kind of lapped him, surpassed him, won the New Japan Cup, won the world title. And so all these characters kind of represented different things to Juice. And then sort of seeing Juice come out with the new colors, with the new music, the new attitude, new finisher, new nickname. And, I thought it was pretty compelling. I thought the actual ring work was really great. Very wild, these guys were all over the place, doing different things. And then also really just enjoyed the kind of side story that was continuing on between Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay. That was fully on display all throughout the match as well.
Yeah, also the side story of Jon Moxley and Tanahashi. Mox has been calling out Tanahashi for almost a year now. They finally meet face to face in the ring. Crowd pop big for their interactions. The Ace, showed Mox his death match side, got the table out, did the big high fly flow to Mox on the outside through the table, which took those two guys out of the match, leaving Juice and Ospreay as the last two guys in the match. And Juice, he hit his new finish on Ospreay. Ospreay got his foot underneath the ropes during the count. Ref didn't see it, and Juice Robinson is our new U.S. champ.
Yes. So, I mean, you guys speculated last week that they might continue the story of them screwing Will Ospreay. I didn't consider, my whole thing last week was I kind of guaranteed whoever wins should beat Tanahashi to like firm things up, really like make it like a solidified thing. And that's the way I saw it. They went an opposite way, and they kind of had Ospreay take the loss, but in another controversial fashion, which I think on a certain level does make sense. You kind of look at what's been going on with that story, and this is a great way to continue it. I sort of thought they would try to continue that story without actually making Ospreay take the pinfall. My concern was that if he did take the pinfall and they did it this way, it would sort of devalue the win in some light, but it didn't come off that way. And I feel like Juice still got over, and they were still able to implement their storyline. One thing that really helped was post-match, Juice Robinson got up and kind of scathing promo. I thought it was a little bit here and there, sort of all over the place, but it was very effective at getting heat from the live crowd, especially the part where he was like, I beat not only Will Ospreay, not only Jon Moxley, not only Hiroshi Tanahashi, but all three at the same time. And like the whole crowd booed that. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. So I like that. He didn't say, why I turned? Because of you fans. He was like, he did the Y2J that I beat Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock in the same night.
Yeah, that was a good promo there by Juice at the end, getting a lot of heat. Too sweeting with the Bull Club team. So Bull Club won all their matches this night. They add another championship to the group. They're riding a big wave of momentum going into Dominion in June, where Jay White will be challenging Okada. You'll have Carl Anderson challenging Tama Tonga for the never openweight title. Ishimori will defend the junior title. You'll have Chase and Great Okan Chase and Fale defending the tag titles against Okan and Cobb in a rematch for tag titles. So Bull Club, big focus right now in New Japan, have a ton of title matches coming up to Dominion, and they're riding a wave of momentum right now.
The sun shines on the Bullet Club.
Yeah. And it did come out that Juice has signed a contract extension with New Japan. He said in a Sports Illustrated interview last week that his new contract goes to 2023. So it seems like kind of the typical New Japan structure. He signed like another 1 year deal, and we'll have one more year of Juice Robinson.
Yeah. A couple other things I wanted to point out about this match. Tanahashi looked extremely rough in this match. I mean, really, really, really rough. I mean, hats off to the guy. You could tell he was still in it to put on a show. I mean, he didn't hold back by any means, but like you could tell not just by his physique, but his movements. Like he was moving a tad bit slower than everybody else. He really struggled on several occasions to get to the top rope. Some of his body presses like weren't even making it all the way. Like he did still do a high fly float through a table on the outside,
which was nuts.
Fucking nuts. But this is the thing I'm talking about, where like with him, I don't know what to expect. You know, there's times where he looks like this, and then I think, oh man, he's really hurting. And then he has that Ishii match where he looks like his old self, and he looks crisp, and he goes out there and has a banger. And then, you know, I don't know if there enough time passed, maybe the travel. Who knows if he's got some sort of like lagging injury or something like that. I don't know. But he looked, out of everyone in this group, really rough this night. He still went out there and did his best. It didn't drag the quality of the match down by any means, but I could just tell. I was like, damn, like it hurts to kind of see him moving like that. And then the thing with Ospreay and Moxley, they had so many really kind of elaborate reversal spots all over this match between the two of them. And one of the big stories was that like Ospreay couldn't get over on Jon Moxley. Like Jon Moxley was able to out wrestle him and outsmart him and get the better of him in almost every single exchange they had. And a lot of them were really incredible like wrestling sequences. But the truly awesome part was what set up the win for Juice was where Moxley was able to counter out of the Stormbreaker, hit him with the pile driver, hit him with multiple paradigm shift / Death Riders. And then when he kicked out of the Death Rider, this time playing off of what occurred during the Chicago match, he put him in the bully choke and like almost had him completely choked out, you know, and then Tanahashi high fly flowed them while they're in that move. That was awesome. There's just a lot of great stuff here.
Yeah, I really love the call back to the Windy City finish of the pay-per-view where, he immediately goes into the Bulldog choke. And, it seems like Mox is going to win. But like you mentioned, Tanahashi hits the high fly flow to break it up. And then the crazy spot of doing the high fly flow to the outside through the table, which took him and Mox. And it was not, American table. It was a strong style table. And, dude, Tanahashi crushed Mox on that thing. That table exploded. So that was a cool spot. And it led to the finish. Like I mentioned, Juice hitting his new, spin out reverse Death Valley bomb looking thing.
Pancake.
Pancake like maneuver. He hit a low blow too. Hit a low blow, then hit his new finish. And then pinned Ospreay. Like we mentioned, Ospreay had his foot underneath the rope, which should have been a rope break and should have broke the count, but ref didn't see it.
A lot of people abusing the ref on this show. Not even inadvertently, just people pushing Jeremy around.
Yeah, dude, Jeremy needs to stand up for himself and not, let these guys push him around.
Yeah, he needs to go watch, like Tommy Young and stuff like that.
He needs to watch Earl Hebner when he would like kick their guys' hands off the ropes.
Yep.
So good show here. A few questions here. Less Commission 7252 says, with the Ospreay storyline continuing at Capital Collision, what do you guys think it will lead to? The chance of him going to the G1 finals if he's in the G1 this year, or something bigger than that?
I haven't given too much consideration. I'm sort of just enjoying watching it play out, but the G1 is just around the corner, and you have to imagine that whatever they're doing with this story, whether they plan to resolve it, turn from it, and move on to something else, or kind of conclude it one way or the other, like it's all going to be in play during the G1 for sure.
Yeah, I have no idea where they're going with this whole storyline. I think eventually at some point we're going to end up with Ospreay as champion again, especially since his reign got cut short. So I don't know when that will happen, but I think this will all kind of build up to that point. But I'm enjoying the story and just kind of seeing where it's going to go.
Too many things in our lives require too much effort. But when it comes to disinfecting surfaces with the new Clorox Disinfecting Mist, you just spray and walk away. No wiping required. The aerosol-free Clorox Disinfecting Mist kills 99.9% of germs on hundreds of surfaces with an easy-to-use continuous sprayer. And it comes in 2 delightful scents with the reusable sprayer and refills that help keep plastic out of landfills. Try the new Clorox Disinfecting Mist today. Use as directed. Rinse required on incidental food contact surfaces.
Target has Laundry Day covered because they offer a great selection of concentrated Tide Pods to help with all your laundry needs. Tide Pods clean, freshen, and help rejuvenate your clothes with odor fighters and stain removers. Did you know Tide Pods clean better than the leading liquid bargain detergent? Tide Pods are powerful enough to make your whites white and your brights bright, even in cold water. Just toss in 1 Tide Pod for small loads, 2 for medium, 3 for large. It's that easy. For great value and convenient pickup options, get Tide Pods today at Target.
So that wraps it up for our coverage of Capital Collision. Let's move on now to Best of the Super Junior 29. And last week there was a press conference that happened with all the competitors before the action started. We had a question here from @MarkNado1990. Did you watch the press conference? Who was the best and worst dressed? And what do you think of Despy and Doki's interaction?
Yes, I did watch it. As far as best dressed, I gotta say ELP, man. Came out clean. As far as worst dressed, I don't know. There were some get-ups that were like, you know what? I'll just say it. People like Clark Connor's outfit. That shit was horrible.
You're not digging the cowboy outfit?
Listen, man, if you don't want people to think that you're Hangman Adam Page, don't be dressing like Hangman Adam Page at a press conference.
I ain't never seen Hangman wear a cowboy hat though.
No, you know what's funny was like, I thought it was a great outfit for a press conference in kayfabe, but like in real everyday life, the way that actual humans like interact and dress, it was not good at all. I also didn't like Alex Zane. Oh, I didn't like Alex Zane's outfit.
The all red suit.
That was horrible. Ace Austin's outfit was awful as well. In fact, almost across the board, even the guys that were like dressed well, there was always just kind of something off. I saw a picture of all of them on this podium, standing side by side, and I just like thought to myself, like, this looks like a like a wish.com version of the G1 picture that we usually get. Like, this is not the same.
I can't remember exactly what Yo was wearing, but I remember at the time it looking pretty.
He wore something weak.
Yeah,
he wore just like a black shirt.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, and him dropping the one-liner in his speech, just I will do my best or something like that, and then
yeah, bro. When he did that, I was like, "Fuck off, bro."
But yeah, Despy and Doki had a great interaction here. Despy was pretty much he was running down Doki and talking about how he ate the loss in their tag match from Takataichi Mania, and how Despy's been around for a couple years now and really hasn't done anything, and just kind of calling him a little pup, and just kind of really running him down.
Yeah, he was really disrespectful to Doki, and then Doki got up in his face, and looked like they were about to fight right on stage, and then ELP's like, punch him, Doki.
Yeah, dude. So, that Doki Despy match is gonna be fire when it happens.
That's the match I'm most looking forward to in the tournament right now, just because of the angle itself.
Yeah. And I got a question here from MJSPR. In the Best Super Junior press conference, Clark Connors and Ace Austin both mentioned that neither of them are featured in semi-main or main events for the whole tournament. Give us your hot takes on main event snubs.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have, Chris Samsa here to give us the stats about who hypothetically has ever gone to a final without being in main events. I'm going to guess there's a good chance it's happened before, but I can't think of anybody that comes to mind specifically off the top of my head. That being said, though, we have seen situations like that in the G1, so it's not totally out of the question. As far as Clark Connors and Ace Austin both being out of the main events, I mean, I don't know. I guess they probably should have been given an opportunity to work a main event, but there seems to be, we've seen guys like ACH and Jonathan Gresham and some other foreign gaijins that get brought into this tournament, and they fit that middle, even like further back, like Robbie Eagles before his push. Those types of guys would work the middle of the card, always have like sub 15-minute matches, always get opportunities to shine and have good matches. And you kind of make the most of it that you possibly can, So, I mean, it's not like just because they're not in the main event, they don't have the opportunity to go out there and impress and make a name for themselves. Like, are they going to have that super epic, career-making junior match? Maybe not. But are they going to be able to go out there and like really turn some heads and have a great match on that like mid-card level during the tournament and show their body of work and, maybe get people to reconsider their slotment within the tournament? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you look at it, Clark Connors hasn't been in Japan since probably early 2020, right before the pandemic. You don't know if the fan base has been keeping up what's strong or what's been going on with the LA Dojo guys. So you're not going to hedge your bets on him in big semi-main and main events right now. I think he needs to reestablish himself with the Japanese audience and just kind of show them, his new, gimmick. Because last time he was there, he was a young lion. And then you have Ace Austin, who is a Impact representative, and it's the first time in quite some time that Impact has been represented in Best of a Super Junior. And I know that there has been more Impact content on NJPW World in the last year since New Japan and Impact have been working together. But again, you don't know how many of the Japanese fan base are watching those videos or watching the Ace Austin matches. So again, another kind of unknown commodity. And like you mentioned, I think sometimes it's good to be in that middle of the card position because if you outshine the main event and semi-main event in that mid-card position, then you're bringing eyes to you, and if you can steal a show in the mid-card, that's a really good position that you're setting yourself up for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now let's talk about the tournament here. So we had night one of the A Block kickoff on your birthday on Sunday, May 15th. We had some multi-mans here to open up the show. We had the Flying Tiger team of Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask teaming up with Tenzan and Master Wato. They defeated the team of Kosei Vegeta, Rehoi Oiwa, Wheeler Yuta, and Yuto Nakashima. Then we had the LIJ team of Bushi and Shingo defeating Dick Togo and El Phantasmo. Then we had El Lindemann, Jado, and Teton defeating Doki, El Desperado, and Taka Michinoku, which brought us to the first block match of the evening with the...
Nothing major about these undercards, but the one thing I wanted to say is it's very interesting to see who of these guys, especially like the newer outsiders, who they're getting like teamed up with during the tournament or during the undercard tags. You know what I mean? It's kind of some like combinations I wasn't quite expecting,
Yeah, a guy like Wheeler Utah, people were kind of questioning who he's going to team with. He's teaming here with Young Lions. You have Lindemann teaming with this random team of Jado and Teton.
Right.
And you got House of Torture kind of coming together back in the fold. Bull Club with Togo teaming with ELP. So a lot of interesting mix-ups here in this opening here of the card. So first block match with the two aforementioned guys who were complaining about main events, Ace Austin and Clark Connors. So the Impact X Division champion Ace Austin did defeat the Wild Rhino Clark Connors here in the first block match of the evening. Ace Austin getting his 2 points, beating Clark in 9 minutes and 51 seconds.
Yeah, hypothetically, anybody that beats, and we'll say this again and again during these reviews, but anybody that beats these champions hypothetically has a claim to a potential title shot. So that's always something to look out for. Unfortunately here, Clark Connors isn't one of those guys. He was beaten by Ace Austin. I thought that both of them went out there and made the most that they possibly could have in a sub 10-minute opener round match. And I thought that they worked really hard, really fast, really well. For me, this was the match of the night for the whole card. It wasn't necessarily something that I'd say you need to go out of your way and watch. I didn't think anything on this first night was, recommend worthy necessarily. Although I did think it was a good show and an easy sort of just breeze through opener. It might not be what I was expecting for first night of Super Juniors, but I thought Ace Austin, Clark Connors both really impressed. And they both got me pretty excited to see what they're able to do with the rest of this roster, guys that we've never seen wrestle before.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I agree this was the match of the night. I thought both guys worked really hard, looked really good here. Pretty much story of the match, just both guys just really aiming to go for their finishers. Clark going for the trophy kill, powerbomb. Ace Austin looking for his fold neck breaker, and obviously Clark kind of using his power game to get advantages over Ace throughout the majority of the match, but then Ace also want to use his speed to kind of come back, and towards the end here, Ace was able to get out of the trophy kill and hit his fold neck breaker and get the big win here. And like I said, Ace Austin, he's up now. He's got 2 points, X Division champ. And I mean, Clark Connors was a possible guy that could have beat him, and you could have done an X Division match in the U.S. with Connors versus Ace Austin, but Ace Austin got the win here and build up momentum here going on in the tournament.
Not going to be a fan of the laminated card finger spot. I never have liked that, and I think it's one of those things where just if you're watching Ace Austin, you're probably gonna have to endure that spot. Seems to be one of his key things.
Yeah, him and his Gambit cosplay.
Yeah.
So
at least he doesn't talk like he's from the Bayou.
That would be pretty funny.
That might make him a better character.
Right.
He just went full in on the Gambit.
Yeah. So the next block match, we had the Sauce, Alex Zane, defeat Yoshinobu Kanemaru, 11 minutes and 31 seconds.
Yeah, so I mean, Kanemaru, he's a guy that has notoriously spoiled people in this tournament and found different game plans and methodologies to, undo people's, whatever it is that they intend to do in these tournament matches. And he kind of put that at play here and really targeted Alex Zane's legs and sort of tried to ground him, but didn't matter. Alex Zane is here to fly, and fly he did. He did his flips, he did his dives. One thing I'm really glad about, not just that we have the 2 brackets and not just that we have, a full roster with outsiders, but they got rid of the barricades, which is something that's been missing from Super Juniors. So these guys really were able to fly. Now this match it told a good story. It wasn't blowaway or anything, but I will say this, for me, Alex Zane in this match gave the performance of the night and got over the most with the crowd. He even was getting chants from the audience, which for a guy that has never competed in Japan whatsoever was a little bit surprising. I've definitely had criticisms of Alex Zane from a certain level when it comes to timing, when it comes to fluidity, crispness, things like that, even just some of the fundamentals of wrestling. I think these are all things that he can improve on, but there's no denying from a athletic standpoint, he is a gifted individual. He really can do some incredible aerial type wrestling, and that was on full display here. Mark my words, by the time this tournament is over, Alex Zane's going to be the standout guy from A Block, like the guy that makes a name for himself in this tournament, because he's just fucking going for it. And I know other guys are wrestling hard, but like he is impressing for sure. And those flips are going to get over.
Yeah, this was essentially just the, Alex Zane highlight reel. He got to do a lot of his cool spots, that jumping, flipping Hurricane Run off the top that he does, a lot of his dives. I thought he did a good job of selling the knee in between, doing a lot of that stuff with all the Kanemaru was working the knee, going for the figure 4 leg lock, going for a submission here. But kind of fighting through that knee injury and then doing all his cool flipping maneuvers here. like you said, I think he's going to get over as well. We've seen guys like Ospreay and Ricochet that come in, do the cool flips, and get over really easy with the Japanese crowd. And Zayn, he got the winner. He hit his the Baja Blast, followed by the Cinnamon Twist, which is a spiral tap maneuver, and got the big win over here on Kanemaru. Picks up his first 2 points of the tournament. We had a question here from MJWPR. Is Alex Zane just a glowed up Bobby Fish?
That's pretty funny. I mean, the only thing that's similar between the two of them is bad facial hair, and they're both older wrestlers. But other than that, I think the comparisons are few and far between.
Yeah, the comparisons kind of stop there with the mustache. So next matchup here, we had the New Japan debut of Francesco Akira. He was accompanied by his United Empire stablemate TJP, and Akira, he defeated Sho at 11 minutes and 49 seconds.
This was, a match that could have potentially been really outstanding. It wasn't bad. It was just a Sho story match, Sho jumped Francesco Akira early and then took him to the outside, and they're brawling all over the arena. They kept teasing a bunch of count out victories. And, at one point Sho grabbed the wrench, and luckily TJP was able to kind of intervene, even though it's sort of in the MO of United Empire not to really interfere in each other's matches, but just kind of provide moral support. But in that case, it was starting to get egregious, so TJP did step in. But, ultimately, all of the, bag of tricks that Sho has, he wasn't able to utilize all of them to get the best of Francesco Akira. Once they got in the ring and things started going and Francesco Akira started rolling, he sort of played babyface underdog, which is kind of interesting considering that he is with United Empire, and United Empire is full of heels. He, to me, he did some heel mannerisms and stuff, but he almost exclusively wrestled as a babyface underdog style wrestler, which kind of makes me question if that's going to be a storyline and something that's at play. Like, he is in a heel group, but he himself is an underdog. Or if it's more just like that's how he's used to wrestling and hasn't really quite broken out of the mold. Or maybe it's just the fact that it was Sho, and Sho, kind of is higher on the totem pole when it comes to heeldom. And so he kind of became a de facto babyface for that match. And we'll see the shift here as he moves into another, match with someone like, say, Yo or something like that. I don't know. But I did think that was interesting.
Yeah, I did notice that also as well. And I know you mentioned Alex Zane being a guy who looked really good and is going to get over, but I think Akira looked really good in this match. And I know it was kind of bogged down with the Sho shenanigans, but I thought when Akira was on offense, his moves looked really crisp. He did a lot of cool stuff, and I think when he has the opportunity to wrestle better guys and in better positions, I think he's really going to show out. I think by the end of the tournament, I think a lot of people are going to be talking about him as well. And towards the end here, he was able, like you mentioned, TJP grabbed the wrench, Sho wasn't able to use it. Then Akira hit a suplex, followed up with his double knees to the back of the head, which I think he calls the fireball. And he gets his big win, debut win in New Japan, beats an established guy like Sho. And so Akira off to a good start here. We did have a question here from Mark Nato 1990. What do you think of Francesco Akira? It seems like he'll be a good fit for the division. Also, if him and TJP seconding each other, do you think they'll make a good pair to win junior tag belts?
I think that they could be, candidates to win that. Why not? I mean, almost everybody and their brother gets those titles, and they need another strong, established junior tag team. And, that's a goal that United Empire hasn't gotten before. So sure, why not? I do like the fact that they're seconding one another during the tournament, which could be a strong sign that they do have intentions of them doing a junior title run. That would also kind of be bolstered by the promo that TJP cut during the press conference, kind of singling out Watto, talking about how he's going to win, the titles from him and call him the fucking Smurf. So, that might be a little bit of a tip up, a tip of the hat to us to let us know what's going on there.
Yeah.
As far as Francesco Akira, I mean, we've sang his praises on the show already, so not surprised that he was impressive on this first night. I did see people criticizing the finisher he has, and I'm not sure that I'm sold on it either just yet.
So that gift going on, that wasn't his finisher. That was just one of his like setup moves.
Oh, okay, gotcha. You know what's funny is like I didn't remember that being his finish, but I saw so many people like show that I was like, oh, I guess that's his finish. It's sort of a weird, convoluted, weak finish. If that's just one of his like signature moves, it's probably fine.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy spinning neck breaker looking thing. I mean, I thought it looked cool.
It's cool, but he's just taking a flip bump. It's whatever. It just seems like, I don't know, the way that the other guy lands, I feel like I don't know, I feel like it's unnecessary for them to do the whole flip. In this case, I think the flip is unnecessary. I feel like it'd be a more impactful move if he just dropped them straight down and just did like a came straight down with them. I don't know.
I think it looks cool.
It looks cool, but not everyone's gonna be able to do it.
Yeah.
It's like one of those moves where it's like very specific to certain guys that can maybe do it with him. I don't know.
Right. He's not doing that on Tiger Mask.
Exactly.
So semi-main event here in the A block, we have the ticking time bomb. Hiromu Takahashi defeat Ryusuke Taguchi 10 minutes and 42 seconds. This man Taguchi came out in the press conference and said he was going to wrestle serious, no more butt stuff. And this man is a liar.
He's a liar. He's just flat out a liar. Like, he didn't even like try to pretend like he wasn't going to actually do it. Like, literally within seconds of the match starting, he did a flying hip attack. Yeah, he's a fucking liar.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, as soon as the bell rings, first thing he does, hip attack. I was like, come on. It's like, clearly we are not getting big match Taguchi here. We're getting goofy butt stuff Taguchi. And in this match, it was just kind of goofy, these guys chasing each other around the ring, back and forth. Taguchi trying to, do his hip attacks and all his stuff. And I mean, it was fine for what it was. Hiromu gets to win with the Hiromu roll. But, it's a semi-main event. It's Hiromu. It's Taguchi. I expected a little bit more action here, a little bit, a match that really get you excited for Best of Super Juniors, and we didn't get that here.
Yeah, I saw some reports on Twitter before I saw this match that this was the match of the night and, kind of a sleeper. And I remember them having some very good matches in the past, even just some of the recent Super Juniors. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in for this. And I was disappointed because there was no compelling story with Taguchi. It wasn't him being serious. It's him just being a goofball. And then, him and Hiromu, they had a fine match. Hiromu hit him with his special roll-up that he kind of started winning matches with going back to last year's Super Juniors back in like November, December. And, yeah, I mean, it was 10 minutes. It was inegregious, but it wasn't anything stand out.
Yeah. Yes, whatever.
I told Jeremy off the air, I'm not calling this tournament right now. I'm not calling it Best of the Super Juniors. It's just Super Juniors right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to lie to you guys and say this is the best of, because it's so far not. Now, if something changes, they might get that B back.
Yeah, I got my star ratings thread going on my Twitter, and Rich saw it. He's like, where the fours at? Like, yeah,
that's what I would like to know.
Like, definitely not in the A block so far.
Well, there's a lot of time left, so
yeah. We had a question from Les Commission 7252 says, should Taguchi equip the stink face as one of his moves?
No.
I mean, I think he kind of already did that with Kanemaru at Dontaku.
He's done variants of that throughout the years.
But yeah, I'd be good with less butt stuff from Taguchi.
I'm not into butt stuff, bro.
Me either. Main event here, we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, the Bone Soldier, Taiji Ishimori. He defeats Yo 16 minutes and 15 seconds.
A lot of people are probably going to come out and say that this was their match of the night because it was the longest match of the night, and it was probably, I would say, better than the majority of what occurred on this evening, but I'm still going to rate the 10-minute opener over this, if that's any, if that tells you anything. Yo, I don't know what to think, man. I mean, maybe they're doing another story like they did last year with him starting off slow and then redeeming, yada, yada. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're going to swerve off of that and tell some other story. The reality is I have no interest in whatever that story is at this current time. I'm not invested in it in the slightest. And Ishimori as champion, I really don't. I love Ishimori. I think he is like an incredible generational type of talent. But I have no interest in him as the champion. I felt like this match had very little heat going into it. And yeah, I mean, Yo getting beat again, I don't know. It didn't do much for me, man.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to see Yo beat Ishimori after losing to Hiromu, but at the same time, I felt like, well, maybe Yo needs to win. Yeah, I just have no excitement, I'm just kind of indifferent to Yo. Like, I don't really care when he's on the screen, and I don't really want to say, like I said, I don't want to see this kind of comeback story, and they gave this big main event here, and I thought it was good for what it was. Ishimori does a great job of working over the arm and doing a lot of La Mysticas and setting up stuff for the bone lock, which he used to tap out Yo here. But when it comes to Super Juniors and we get to the main event of the card, I'm expecting a really great matchup, and we didn't get that here. It was a good matchup. It was not great, and I think for Super Juniors we need to start seeing more, great. I know we only had 2 nights thus far, but looking at
yes, but the first 2 nights are usually 2 of the best nights of the whole tournament, right, typically speaking.
Yeah. Usually they start off really hot. Then the middle kind of cools down a little bit and then picks back up towards the middle. But yeah, we're starting off kind of cold here with A block on night 1.
Some people might call it mid. Yeah. Starting off mid.
It did. Yeah, it did start off kind of mid. I mean, again, obviously if we had some crowds that could cheer, that would help things a little bit. But I think Kevin Kelly almost kind of pointed it out on night 2 commentary where he was like, a lot of these guys wrestled. I forget exactly how he said it, but he said something like these guys wrestled very safely. Like nobody on night 1 really kind of went for the fences and kind of gave their all. Like they were all kind of cautious in how they were wrestling each other, and that's what it kind of felt like. Even though I feel like Kevin's kind of covering up kayfabe, like these guys they don't know each other. They're trying to really study each other and be very methodical, where in essence it did feel like these guys didn't want to go all out on this first night.
Yeah, makes sense from a kayfabe perspective. I get it.
Yeah. We had a question here. MJ does PR. Whose existence is sadder, pre-junior tag champ Wato or modern day Yo?
Yo, because Wato was never great. Yo was great, and he no longer is.
Yeah, I mean, for pre-tag Wato, there was always room for improvement, and he was starting off at the very bottom. There was hope for him to come up. Modern day Yo, it's sad. This man could have potentially been a star. He's a part of a star tag team. He's one of the.
You're supposed to be one of the greatest all-time junior tag team wrestlers that has ever lived. What the fuck happened to you, bro?
Yeah, this was a young prospect, dojo student, supposed to be this breakout star when the tag team broke up, and
I could imagine like in one of those like, corny like drama movies where like he's like this washed up wrestler, and someone's like a little kid will be like, aren't you Yo of Roppongi 3K? And he'll look at him, he'll be like, I used to be, kid. I used to be. And then just like walk away.
Be like, Roppongi 3K, I haven't heard that name in quite a while.
That's a name I haven't heard in years.
Oh, man. So that caps off night one of Super Juniors. Pretty much all the, first-time entries got wins here. Ace Austin, Alex Zane, Francisco Akira getting up 2 points, and then Hiromu, Taiji Ishimori getting their 2 points as well. So then we move on to the first night of B Block, night 2 overall, which happened this morning, May 17th. Opening up the show for tag matches, we had Clark Connors teaming up with Fujita and Oiwa to defeat Tenzan, Yo, and Nakashima. Then we had Ace Austin and Tiger Mask defeating Taka Michinoku and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Bullet Club team of Dick Togo, Sho, and Taiji Ishimori defeating Alex Zane, Jado, and Risuke Taguchi. And again, nothing really coming from any of these multi-man matchups, just good little previews for the next night of A Block action. So then we had... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and take it.
So first B Block match, we had Doki, our man Doki, defeating El Lindaman and getting 2 points on the board from the get-go.
Yeah, this was pretty shocking. One of the interesting stories of the tournament, El Lindaman coming in as the reigning, defending G-Rex Glate openweight champion. And he actually is competing tomorrow morning. So by the time this show releases on 5/18, he's returning to Glate to defend that title. So if he drops that belt, then he'll continue the rest of this tournament as the former champion. Or if he's successful in that defense, then he'll continue throughout the tournament as the reigning champion. But one has to wonder, taking a loss to a guy like Doki leading into a title defense isn't necessarily a good sign. This was El Lindaman's first singles match in New Japan, and he's a guy that a lot of people have been curious about what the booking of him in the tournament would be like. Now, it's only the first day, it's the first match, and I would say that this was probably the first really big surprise upset in the tournament. And the tournament's always more fun and more interesting when you have those here. There are no gimmies in this tournament, as Kevin Kelly said. There are no young lions to drop almost every single match throughout the tournament this time. So even a guy like Doki is probably bound to pick up a few wins, and this was one of them. And kind of reminiscent to the run he had in the tournament last year at the end of the year, where he defeated Bushi on the first night to kind of kick off the tournament hot. So maybe we're seeing Doki go on a little bit of a run the first couple nights here in the tournament, which is very fun, very exciting. And I think that this was probably, for me, the second best match of the second night. I liked this match quite a bit. I thought these guys gelled really well, worked really hard, went out there, set a really good pace, and told a great story, and had a lot of awesome counters, reversals, hard-hitting spots. Like, these guys rock. So
yeah, this was a great way to kick off the night. For Lindaman, I think the booking is going to be very interesting, because losing to Doki on night one, maybe he's not going to get as many points as people thought, or be, people were mentioning, politics. Is he going to be booked higher, or he's going to beat New Japan guys? And straight out losing to Doki, who's, on the lower end of the totem pole in New Japan right now, might not be good for his future in this tournament.
I think that's a red herring. I think it's just one of those upsets in the early part of a tournament, and I think it'll definitely be in play when we get to the tail end of the tournament. This might even be that thing that, like, when he's close in points to other guys, that Doki loss is still going to be haunting him.
Yeah.
But I don't think it means that, like, that he's necessarily not an important player in this block.
Yeah. But yeah, good back and forth action here. Doki hitting his Suplex de la Luna to get the big win here over the G-Rex champ and get 2 points on the board.
Yeah.
So then following that, we had El Phantasmo defeating Bushi at 10 minutes and 43 seconds.
Yeah, this match was, well, funny thing, Phantasmo came out in X-Pac inspired, tights, so that was cool. But this was one that I guess it shouldn't surprise me, but I didn't think that this was much of anything. I thought it was a very by-the-numbers style match. And when the finish came, it just kind of came like out of nowhere for me. I didn't feel like there was much heat to this match, much excitement. Competently wrestled. And then, Phantasmo hit him with the sudden death, hit him with the CR2 and got him out of there.
Yeah, I'll say this was your gentleman's three. I mean, Phantasmo was very entertaining in this matchup. He usually is, really getting in the crowd, laughing and popping for him. And he did these big, crazy, lucha rope walk spots just to do the back rake and, just being his, ELP self and just being a total douche like he normally is. But it's very entertaining, very enjoyable. And like you mentioned, at the end, hits the sudden death off the what's Bushi's finisher, the MX, and puts him away with the CR2.
During the press conference, he did say that he was going to win the tournament, and after he wins the tournament, enter into the G1 as the champion. Now, I don't know how high the chances are of that actually occurring, but, if something like that did happen, that would be a huge shakeup and like a huge storyline. And I'm hoping that in this tournament, I'm not saying do that specifically, but do something that is newsworthy and, generates buzz out of this tournament. But post-match, as he was walking back, Phantasmo was like, I got big plans. He's like, bigger than Kenny. He's like, bigger than Jay. He's like, bigger than running the Bullet Club, bigger than Devitt. He's like, just wait and see. So I'm like, people don't want to hear it, but like, I think ELP's like got superstar written all over him, like on a much higher level than just, funny comedy, snarky, heel antagonist. I think that he's got a lot more to offer than just what we've seen so far.
So you're finally seeing the light on ELP.
I've always thought that ELP like had star potential. It's never been the character that was an issue for me. It's always been some of the like rudimentary, like basic. I still kind of don't like a lot of his match layouts. I'll be honest about that. But athletically, he's incredible. But what's won me over, it's not really his improved wrestling. It's the character work,
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that I think the same kind of fan base that didn't like wacky cleaner is the same fan base that probably doesn't like ELP and is not seeing like the money signs that are all over this guy, and they're there.
Yeah, definitely. He keeps talking about wanting to be in the G1 and, like you mentioned, be a junior champ and going to the G1. And yeah, this year's G1 is going to be interesting because, we got outsiders that are probably going to be a part of the tournament. And who knows, guys like ELP could be wanting to move up a weight class and get in the tournament. So it's going to be interesting to see whose spots get taken, who's going to be in the tournament. And if a guy like ELP can move up to heavyweight and get in there, that would be a ton of fresh matchups for the G1. So moving on, we had the Sniper of the Skies and confirmed Keeping It Strong Style listener, Robbie Eagles, defeating Wheeler, Utah, 11 minutes and 30 seconds.
Wait, why do you say he's a confirmed listener?
Because I got word that Robbie Eagles enjoys himself some Kiss.
Well, what's funny is like Chris Bryan, who used to do the what's it called, Groman Watch the Shit show here, good friend of the show. He's been on the show. I like he wrestled in his heyday back in Australia and like knows Robbie. I think they may have had Robbie on Groman Watch the Shit, or maybe they were going to. It didn't end up happening. I don't know. But yeah, I met Robbie at like a merch table couple back in New York when I was with Chris. But nice guy, real nice guy. So
yeah, friend of the show, Sir Sam, who's in Australia, got to do an interview with Eagles a while back at an indie show, and did mention Keepin It Strong Style and said that he listens and enjoys the show. So,
well, don't listen to the early episodes when I was hating on you. I was like, this guy hasn't done anything. What's going on? He's got this reputation. And then he comes in and becomes like one of the literally best proven workers of the junior division.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about Robbie Eagles' new gear? I think I like it better than.
Yeah, I'm digging it. It looks like a star to me. Change up on the gear here, and I thought this was a really, really good matchup here between him and Utah. Kind of a surprise here. I thought Utah was going to start off strong and just reel off wins, but Eagles getting kind of a big upset win here, getting a quick roll up towards the end here for a great exchange and pinning the Ring of Honor Pure Champion.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. Like we've said, I don't think they went out there and had a blowaway, banger sort of encounter, but it really was something that set the sort of the tone for what I'm guessing Wheeler Utah's Super Juniors is going to look like, and I feel like they're only starting to ramp up from here. But they were really, really crisp, really just fluid. A lot of the counter wrestling, and we already kind of knew that existed with Wheeler Utah, but and obviously Robbie Eagles is one of the best, but they went out there and just put together some incredible chain grappling sequences, submission counters. The one, I don't even know what to call it. There was the one submission that Wheeler Utah put Robbie Eagles in towards the tail end of the match, which led to Robbie beating him. But prior to that, it was a standing.
When he was in the tombstone position.
Yeah, it was a tombstone position, and then he locked the legs into a grapevine and was, I don't know what to call that move, but it was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. And yeah, I really enjoyed this match. And to me, it kind of felt like they purposely left a little bit on the table and held back and didn't go all out here. So who knows? Maybe with Eagles pinning Utah, we can get a pure title match at Forbidden Door between Robbie Eagles and Utah, or sometime on AW programming. But I felt like if these guys had 5 more minutes and kept going at the pace they were going, we could have gotten something really, really great.
Well, the other thing too, everyone's talking about the outsiders coming in, and maybe they forget, but it's been a while since Robbie's been in this company. I mean, his last appearance, to my recollection, was Best Super Juniors last year at the tail end of that year. So, I mean, we're looking at 6-7 months. He hasn't even been in the company. He's kind of just been working Australian indies and that sort of thing. So this was sort of his opportunity to make a splash in the revitalized junior division. And from a kayfabe perspective, yes, Wheeler Utah is the ROH Pure Champion. Yes, he's an AEW star, yada, yada. Robbie Eagles is a former champion, of the company.
Right.
So from the kayfabe perspective, it makes all the sense in the world to me. I mean, not saying Wheeler Utah couldn't have beaten him, but if you gave me the list of guys in this block that have a high likelihood of beating Wheeler Utah, Robbie Eagles is at the top of that list for sure in this block. And besides that, we still don't know how they're going to book Wheeler Utah. We speculated early on that he might get a very, very strong push and very, very strong points total, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a guarantee. I mean, who really knows?
Right. I think that's the interesting thing about the tournament this year is with all these outsiders and not knowing exactly how they're going to get booked and who's going to beat who. It makes the tournament really excited, because I was, again, thinking, with this whole, Blackpool Combat Club push, he's probably going to get that Moxie rub and run it up and go 6 straight, kind of like Mox did in the G1. But big surprise upset here with him going down the first night. And so I think that kind of adds some more juice to Utah's matches in the future to see, all right, who's he actually going to beat, who's he going to lose to, and starts things off on a good foot for Robbie Eagles. So looking forward to seeing more of those guys in the tournament. So then in the semi-main event, we had the Public Enemy TJP accompanied with Francisco Akira. He defeated Master Wato 12 minutes and 21 seconds.
So I mean, this was one where I thought it was fine. You know, nothing really stood out to me too much in this match, to be quite frank. I loved TJP's promo during the press conference leading up to this match. And I mean, everyone kept coming out there and thanking different people. And TJP was like, he was the most heelish of anybody during either press conference. He was like, I will give thanks to nobody because I don't need to give thanks to anybody. And he talked about how like there's no one on, in the group that was on his level who'd wrestled as long as him or done the things he'd done. And he was like, I mean, I beat a guy named Kota Ibushi. And you can say that? Like, didn't think so. He's like, I'm a former X Division and Cruiserweight champion. Anyone else here that can say that? Didn't think so. Talked about how he was going to start stealing everybody's masks, on the stage, like he stole Mascara Doradas. So I thought he was really great. And I'm actually digging TJP's character work. And then the aforementioned interaction with him and Wato, calling him a Smurf, talking about how they're going to take his titles. And that seemed to be the mission here. And, TJP beat Wato, got him to tap out. I didn't see that part coming necessarily, but I mean, I didn't think the match was standout by any means, but they're clearly building, in my opinion, something I think between the United Empire guys and 6 or 9.
Yeah, I actually liked this match quite a bit. I felt like it was really fast paced. I felt like TJP was the perfect guy to work with Wato, with TJP's experience in Mexico and wrestling luchadors, and with Wato's excursion being in CMLL. And I thought he made Wato look really good in this match. And TJP is just so fluent, and I thought the match just went really well for Wato, and he made Wato look good, and he made himself look good. And like you mentioned, get the big submission victory here. I thought they wrestled pretty fast pace. We had a really quick near fall right as the bell rang because TJP had jumped Wato at the gun. But yeah, to me, I thought it was a really fun matchup here. And again, I'm also digging, TJP's heel character. And I think, people, obviously he says a lot of dumb stuff on Twitter, and people kind of take his, the real life stuff and will say he's a bad wrestler. But if you kind of forget everything that happens in real life, just focus on what's happening in the ring, like this guy is a great wrestler. He's so smooth, and I'm really looking forward to see what else he's going to do in this tournament.
I will say, because I thought to myself, I'm not crazy here, right? I went and looked at the cage match rating, and I would say that the cage match ratings tend to agree more with me than they do with you. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. It might literally just be one of those things where TJP's got haters, Wato's got haters, and then you got people like me who maybe I thought for a second, I was like, maybe I just tuned out during this match. I don't know. But yeah, it's not getting a lot of love online.
Well, let's go to a match that is getting a lot of love online. The main event here for the B block, the former champ El Desperado. He defeats Teton 13 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yes. They pointed out during the build up to this match that Teton, they really haven't emphasized the fact that he is a champion in Mexico, because again, it's not really like those titles mean a whole lot over there anyways. But the one thing that they did mention is that like Teton has been in this tournament quite a few times, but this time he's in it as a top guy from CMLL. And in the past, he's sort of been like a mid-card sort of act, and now he's up there with guys like Mystico and, I don't know who else is in that
Volador Jr.
Volador Jr. and Mystico. He's up there with those guys.
Nebula Roja.
Yeah. And they really had an awesome match, him and Desperado. And some of the things that you mentioned, how, TJP can kind of mesh well with people that have been on the, excursions to Mexico. Obviously, Desperado's been on excursion to Mexico and has worked that lucha style. And I felt like him and Teton, they just meshed really well. The pace of the early parts and the tail end of this match was very, very fast paced, very high energy, lots of dives, lots of flips. Easily at this point, now we're only 2 nights in, but easily at this point, the match of the tournament so far, the match of the night as well. And I dug this. I just thought it was really fun, really awesome. The kind of thing that we need a lot more of in this year's Super Juniors. I went 4 on it, so I thought it was just really great.
Yeah, I also went 4 stars on it. Great main event here. You had the mixing of, strike exchanges. You had all the great lucha spots from Teton, big Asai moonsault to the outside. Great counters. Desperado working over the knee to set up the pinche loco. And just great back and forth. So you got your mix of high flying. You got your striking. You got your submission work. It's a really good story being told here. But Desperado ends up getting the win here. He even tore Teton's mask a little bit throughout the match. But after the match, very babyfacious. Shakes hands with Teton, helps him up. So seems like Despy's leading a little more babyface here.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I think he's sort of more like a anti-hero type of figure. But, we've talked about that, not just for him, but for Suzuki-gun as a whole, that they're sort of like heel-leaning tweeners. And, I feel like that's where he's slotted at this point in time. It doesn't mean that, put up against, say, like Robbie Eagles, he isn't going to dip more into that heelish persona. I think that's still there, so.
Yeah. So far, like you mentioned, match of the tournament, standout. Definitely, I would say go out of your way to check out this Despy and Teton match.
That's the only match so far that I would like truly recommend, where I'm like, if you want to see something good, go out of your way, catch that. That one was pretty, especially if you're a fan of Lucha Libre, high-flying wrestling, fast-paced wrestling, hard-hitting junior style. I mean, it had a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Some questions here. Rambo and Slam Pig says, whose early best of Super Junior performances most exceed expectations and whose have fallen short?
Oh, that's a great question. I think Alex Zane stands out. I think he's done really well. Doki, for sure. Is another one that I think sort of stands out. And, I think Teton, because Teton in the past has shown this kind of ability, but has been very like inconsistent or even at times like kind of mid-ish, I don't know how to describe it.
I think he used to botch sometimes too. And
yeah. So for me, just as far as like guys that have impressed so far, those would be my 3. As far as people that haven't really like impressed so far, I don't know. That's a tougher one because I feel probably Yo.
I mean, that's who I was thinking about.
Yo's like the only person because I feel like most people are sort of meeting the expectations that are in front of them, and Yo's the one guy who hasn't.
Yeah, Yo's definitely, I know it's only been one night, but Yo's definitely been slacking. So, also there's still a lot more tournament to wrestle, and hopefully he picks some things up here.
I'd probably also say Bushi.
I don't know. I feel like Bushi is meeting expectations so far.
I mean, if those are super low expectations, then yeah. And,
I mean, dude, Bushi did exactly what we said last week in the preview. He's going to come out for a really cool mask, cool suit. He's going to go out there, do his Bushirooney. He's going to try MX, and he's going to lose.
He's capable of more. So, you can't just rest in your laurels of being the mid guy. I didn't think Wato's match was I just didn't think Wato in that match was anything that was that impressive. So I don't know. But the biggest name would be Yo.
Yeah. Rambo also asked if you had to pick a junior to build a division around, not named Hiromu or El Desperado, who would you pick at this point? I once thought Sho, but I don't know anymore.
I don't know. I feel like you could. I know this sounds crazy, and I know like maybe this sounds like a Homer type answer, but I don't think it is. I think you could go with Doki.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've done a great job of kind of slowly ascending him and building him and earning the respect. And I think that's a cool kind of story you can do to eventually get him to the title.
I mean, like, there are definitely some drawbacks. I'm not denying that whatsoever. But as far as a guy that can wrestle that high-paced, high-action style that's very entertaining and has the durability to keep going, he's already kind of shown his ability to do that. So the matches would be great. And he seemed like we've seen him wrestle as an underdog and get sympathy and get the crowd behind him, which is not something that's easy to do. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that question is more targeted towards like a domestic type star in this question. That's the way I'm interpreting it. You know, who is the New Japan guy, like the Japanese domestic star type of guy we can build around. And right now, unless you're talking about like a young lion, I don't really see it in this group except for him. And then obviously the name he mentioned, Sho.
Yeah, I guess when I initially was thinking about this, I wasn't just thinking just domestic. So for me, I would say Robbie Eagles. In the past, this division has been built around foreigners like Will Ospreay and Ricochet and Prince Devitt. And Robbie Eagles is a guy who just has great matches all the time. I mean, he's had one run so far as champ, but it was a short run, and I definitely think you can do a longer run with him. You can build a division around him and just have him have great matches with all these guys coming in, guys that are domestically. I think he can kind of be a guy that can really spark some excitement for the division.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think you bring up some great points there too.
Mark Nato 1990 asks, which block do you think has a better lineup of matches and competitors? I think New Japan has done a good job of spreading the stars across both blocks.
I would agree. I think that I don't think that one block is very much overpowered over the other, but I'm pretty sure the B block's the better block.
Yeah, when I look at some of the lineups and look at some of the people in there and the potential matchups, like I agree with him. Like the stars are kind of spread out on the top guys they're pushing, but some of the guys who have the better matchups and the potential for better matchups, I do feel lies in the B block, and we're going to see that as the tournament plays out. He also asked, as the tournament goes on and there are 10 matches a night, do you think the congestion will impact match quality? Will they have to use quick roll-ups and Taguchi-style silly matches to fit all matches in?
Yeah, I think that's definitely, I wouldn't call it a concern because it's just one night. And we've seen nights where they've done all junior matches, like junior singles matches in the past, although I think that those fields might have been a little bit smaller than this. So maybe not quite as many matches, but, it is what it is. At the same time, I think back to some of those nights like G124 and where they went out there and they literally were having like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 4-star matches in a night. And if given enough time and opportunity, that who's to say they couldn't do that as well? So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it seems like the first few nights are going to be single block, and then going forward, they're going to be combined nights. And so I think it's just going to be a lot of fun to get straight up singles matches and just all tournament matches and these guys going for it. And so I think they're going to be really fun shows. They're probably going to fight for some maybe show of the year candidates. And again, you're probably are going to get some short matches. We've seen like guys like Kushida be upset in minutes in tournaments. We've seen stuff like that in the past, like he mentioned, like the Gucci pulling roll-ups and stuff like that. So some matches will probably be quick if you're having a 10-match card, but I think when you get down to the last stretch of like 4 or 5 matches, they're all probably going to be very, very good matches. So we do have some upcoming shows. Do you want to do predictions for any of these, or you just want to run through the lineups?
I would just say run through the lineups. I mean, at this point, really, I'm not really tracking any predictions personally. But I do have I think it's good to highlight the anticipated matches.
Yeah, definitely.
But any predictions you have, by all means. I didn't even do a bracket this year.
Yeah, I did fill one of the ones that were floating out on the Reddit out just to see what potential points could look like. But again, not fully certain on those just yet, but I'll get some thoughts here. So as you guys are listening to this show, there's night 3 will be happening, the second night of the A block on May 18th. So we got the tag matches: Tiger Mask and Nakashima versus Fujita and Oiwa, Tenzan, Jado, and Wato versus Dick Togo, ELP, and Gato, Robbie Eagles, Teton, and Wheeler Yuta against Doki, Desperado, and Taka. Then the tournament matches will have Yo versus Clark Connors, Kanemaru versus Ace Austin, Sho versus Alex Zane, Taguchi versus Taiji Ishimori, and the main event will be Hiromu Takahashi versus Francisco Akira.
Yeah, for me, the only match on this night that really screams like gotta see stand out is that main event between Hiromu and Francesco Akira.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a great main event. I think Akira is going to get to really show more of what he can do on this kind of playing field, and I think Hiromu's a perfect guy for him to match up against, so that should be a really fun matchup there. Then moving on to night 4 on May 19th, we'll have Tenzan and Yo versus Taka and Kanemaru, Zane, Connors, Jado, and Taguchi versus Togo, ELP, Gato, and Sho, Ace Austin and Tiger Mask versus Hiromu and Shingo. Then the block matches will have Doki versus Wheeler Yuta, Teton versus El Lindemann, Bushi versus Robbie Eagles, ELP versus Master Wato, and TJP versus El Desperado in the main event.
Yeah, and see, this is kind of what I was referring to where I said B block, just for me, just feels a little bit fresher, a little bit stronger. On this night, there's 3 matches that have my attention. So Doki and Wheeler Yuta stands out. Teton versus El Lindemann really stands out. And then that main event, pretty much almost, for whatever reason, almost anything Desperado does in this tournament is going to be stand out for me, especially with him being in the main event. And him and TJP, I don't believe we've seen them wrestle in singles before.
Yeah, so first time matchup here. That should be a lot of fun. Both of those guys have important matches on the last night of B block action. So both of these guys are going to be in contention potentially. So this is a very important match as far as tiebreakers comes down the line. But yeah, it should be a pretty fun night here. So moving on to night 5, May 21st, A block action. So we'll have Lindemann, Jado, and Teton against Togo, ELP, and Gato, Tenzan Wato, and Tenzan and Wato versus Bushi and Shingo, Eagles, Tiger Mask, and Yuta versus Doki, Desperado, and Taka, Sho versus Clark Connors as the first A block match, then Taguchi versus Francisco Akira, Yoshinobu Kanemaru versus Yo, Hiromu Takahashi versus Ace Austin in the semi-main event, and then the main event, Taiji Ishimori versus Alex Zane.
Yeah, I've got a lot of interest in the semi-main event and the main event there. Hiromu versus Ace Austin, very unique, not sure what to expect there, but that sounds pretty fun and exciting. And then Zane and Ishimori, that could be awesome.
Yeah, especially if Ishimori has his working boots on and really wants to go. Those guys have a really high-paced, fast-paced matchup. And yeah, Hiromu and Ace Austin could be a ton of fun as well. Then back over to the B block on May 22nd, night 6 of the tournament. So we'll have Tenzan, Jado, and Taguchi, and Yo versus Ace Austin, Alex Zane, Clark Connors, Tiger Mask, Gato, and Taiji Ishimori versus Dick Togo and Sho, Taka Michinoku and Yoshinobu Kanemaru versus Hiromu and Shingo. Then tournament matches will have Robbie Eagles versus Doki, TJP versus El Lindemann, Bushi versus Master Wato, El Phantasmo versus Teton, and El Desperado versus Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, there's this night rocks. Eagles versus Doki, we've seen that in the past, and it was really good. TJP versus El Lindemann is going to be awesome. ELP versus Teton, like that should rule. And then the main event, Despy and Yuta. The only match on this lineup that I'm not that high on is Bushi and Wato for obvious reasons. Everything else looks very compelling.
Yeah, I feel like they should have put Bushi and Wato as the opener and shift some things around here. But yeah, everything else should be a ton of fun here. And then the last night happening before we record again, night 7, May 24th, our first dual block night.
Oh God.
So we'll have opening up with Francisco Akira versus Alex Zane, TJP versus Teton, Ryusuke Taguchi versus Clark Connors, Bushi versus Wheeler Yuta, Yo versus Ace Austin, El Phantasmo versus Doki, Robbie Eagles versus Master Wato, Yoshinobu Kanemaru versus Hiromu Takahashi, semi-main event Taiji Ishimori versus Sho, and the main event El Desperado versus El Lindemann.
That whole show looks awesome, just top to bottom. They did a great job with, picking the right matches for this night. I'm just concerned that it's the same day that we're recording, and I'm like, fuck, 5 nights in a week plus, the 10-match show taking place just before we record. Like, that's heavy.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot to watch this week and a lot to try and stay up on. But should be fun, though. A lot of great matches up to come. And, yeah, hopefully, Rich asked where the 4 is at. Hopefully we do get some 4s this week with some of these matchups coming up. So moving on, I really don't have anything here in the news section. Was there anything that you've come across that I might have overlooked?
I saw something. I don't follow what's going on in All Japan, but I saw like a little bit of a hubbub about Tiger Mask being the next challenger for the All Japan World Junior Heavyweight title. I don't know if that's true or not. And they were also referencing this, the deal about Jake Lee trying to get into the G1 and, some people thinking that that's a likelihood. So I don't know.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, other than that, I don't really have much news. It seems like most of what's been going on lately has been taking place, in between the ring.
Yeah. Well, then we'll jump to some questions here. We had some questions that were held back from the last couple of weeks here, so we'll answer some of those here, and then we'll wrap up with recommended and excursion match of the week. So Les Commission 7252 has lots of questions here. First, since we are in the month of May, what grade would you guys give New Japan so far?
For the year, I'm supposing?
Yeah.
Like a B-.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair grade, I would say. I think also the things that are stopping it from being an A, in Japan, crowds and still not being able to cheer is a big thing, and not being able to fully pack out the houses. And then on the New Japan America side, the pay-per-views, the quality of the pay-per-views that they've had as far as the streaming and just the amount of pay-per-views and stuff like that. But overall, there's been some great matches. There's been some great bookings, some great angles. I think it's been a pretty good rebound year so far.
I would agree.
They also asked, with everyone hoping to have a G1 with AEW and New Japan in it, should Impact be considered in the tournament? If it is or not going to be 22 wrestlers, should at least 2 Impact wrestlers be in each block? The likes of Carl Anderson and Moose would be great additions to the tournament and will absolutely deliver great banger matches.
I'm not opposed to including those names that you mentioned specifically, but I do struggle beyond that I guess Josh Alexander's the one other guy off the top of my head from Impact. But other than those names, there's not many guys there that I'm like, oh, I hope they're in the G1.
Yeah, the issue with Josh Alexander is right now he's the Impact World Champion. So I'm not sure if Impact's going to want their world champion eating some losses coming off the G1. I don't really see Carl Anderson as a Impact guy. I know that's where he's been doing most of his American stuff, but I mean, his plans was always to go back to Japan. He's going to be facing Tama at Dominion for the Never title. So to me, he's not really an Impact guy. So it'd probably just be Moose. Again, like Jonah's been working Impact a lot, but I would still consider Jonah more of a strong person, and he'll probably get in. So yeah, Moose will probably be the only true Impact person that could and should be in it.
It's tough to say right now how many spots are going to be open. The schedule implies, and based on our guess, it seems as though it's going to be a slightly expanded field, but this is a topic we talk about every year, and I won't go into it too much in depth, but there's only so many spots. There's so many guys on the roster that are deserving. And when you start talking about bringing in outsiders, that means inevitably someone that is deserving of a G1 spot is going to get left in the dirt. So there's always a give and a take when it comes to this thing. And the idea of having not just AEW guys, but also hypothetically Impact, I don't know, seems a little outlandish, honestly, to me.
Yeah. Which Shinsuke Nakamura Wrestle Kingdom match was better? Wrestle Kingdom 9 against Ibushi or Wrestle Kingdom 10 against AJ Styles?
Wrestle Kingdom 9 against Ibushi, no question.
Yeah, that Ibushi match is absolutely incredible. I mean, I love the AJ match, but if you have to compare them, yeah, I would go Ibushi. Next question. Do you think that New Japan would have continued the booking that they had gone during the pandemic if the pandemic never had hit New Japan in 2020? For example, Evil turning on LIJ, Chaos long reign as 6-man champions, the IC and heavyweight championship being unified, etc.
That's a question for Kikuchi. He's the guy that oversees all the long-term plans in New Japan. So
yeah, I mean, there was so much stuff happening before the pandemic. I mean, you had Mox getting ready to feud with Sabre. You had Naito beating Kenta in that big matchup. I mean, they were setting up so much stuff. I mean, there was rumors of Evil getting a push and always getting a push, not necessarily turning, but I don't know if it was something where, yeah, during those months off, Gato kind of reworked the notebook, or Kikuchi or whoever reworked the plans, but it's really hard to say whether any of this stuff would have happened if there was no pandemic. Then Les Commission's last question here. This is a fantasy booking question of mine, but if you had to choose, which one of these would have been a better fit at Wrestle Kingdom 13? Hiroshi Tanahashi as a champion versus Kota Ibushi as a G1 Climax 28 winner in a main event, or a Bullet Club feud in Jay White versus Kenny Omega?
When was Wrestle Kingdom 13?
That was the Tanahashi Omega match from 2019.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think here. So that means we would be assuming that, wait, this doesn't make sense. How could Tanahashi be the IWGP champion and Kota Ibushi be the G1 winner? That means that Tanahashi would needed to have beaten Kenny Omega prior to making it to Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that would be assuming that Tana would have won at maybe like King of Pro Wrestling or Power Struggle. And then
I'll tell you what would have been the better of all these scenarios. Kota Ibushi wins the G1 and wrestles Kenny Omega in the Dome. We get the Golden Lovers in the Tokyo Dome. How about that?
Yeah, that should have been. I mean, I loved Kenny versus Tanahashi, but you know,
me too. And the Ace rode high and whipped that ass.
You know, we watched that G1 match at your birthday party during that big kind of supercard we put together, that match was incredible. And the whole discourse was, everybody kind of felt like that match was incredible, but they were holding back and for a bigger match, and we never got the bigger match. So yeah, if it could have been Omega Ibushi in the Dome for the IWGP heavyweight title, like that would have been incredible. Reddit user Boots and Burn says, Glate Scott, what do you think of the real Forbidden Door of Shima and Shingo teaming up again? Since they seem to squash their beef enough to team up, we'll get to see a future tag match of LIJ versus Strong Hearts, or is the potential of witnessing the decapitation of Shima by the Pumping Bomber still too high?
Yeah, I don't know what to think of this one. I don't know all the backstory when it comes to these guys. I know they've had heat for many, many years, and money talks. They're tagging together again. Did that already happen, or because I think this question's from a few weeks ago, so I can't. I'm not sure if they.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the match has happened yet or not. I know I did see like the advertisement for it, and I've always been hearing the heat that these guys had. I know Shingo was pretty upset initially when Shima was brought into New Japan. But yeah, it seems like they squashed the beef for now. They are teaming up or already have teamed up. And I mean, I think a LIJ Strong Hearts match would be dope.
A lot of guys that work together hate each other. So they might not squash any sort of beef. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Could we see LIJ versus Strong Hearts? Sure. Does that mean it's going to include Shingo? Don't know.
Yeah. His last question here. Also on the 518 Glate card is another potential excursion match the week as Hiroki Goto versus Hayato Tamura. El Lindaman will also be defending his G-Rex title against Shigehiro Irie on the card. Do you think Glate will take the title off of El Lindaman to avoid these booking politics?
That's a great question. By the time this airs, I think most people will know the answer to that question because it should have already occurred. I don't know. It seems kind of early to take that belt off of him, but your guess is as good as mine, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, based on him losing to Doki on the first night as champ, I don't think politics are going to be a big thing coming into play here. So I think he could keep the title. I felt like they made a really big deal about him being G-Rex champ. They made a big deal about Utah being the pure champ and Ace Austin being the X Division champ. I think New Japan wants to have this tournament full of champions. Also, I don't think New Japan is going to control the Glate booking, but I don't see any reason that Lindaman needs to lose. I think he can still be G-Rex champ and, eat some losses, eat some wins, and be fine. Well, that's going to wrap up the questions for this week. Let's jump over to recommended match of the week. So last week for the recommended match, I recommended Dominion 2014 junior title match between Kota Ibushi and Ricochet.
Yeah, so this was a match where I couldn't recall had I seen this before because I knew that I'd seen matches between them in the past. Or actually, I haven't looked at Cage Match. Maybe this is the only match they've had. I don't know. I doubt it. But I was talking with Rich about it this week, and I was like, I think this is the one where Ibushi beats him with the Phoenix Plex. And that's exactly what it was. So, yes, I had already seen this match going into it, but I didn't see it in real time back in 2014. I actually saw this match on Access TV during the Access TV run when they're like airing some of the older stuff. And I was blown away by it then, and I'm still blown away by it now. Man, this stuff really holds up. There is some things in the match there's some goofiness, like pre-selling in some spots where, like, Ricochet knows he's gonna like take a giant lariat, so like he's already like selling the facials on it and moving before he gets hit.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of crazy strike exchanges where some of the stuff just didn't land, but for the most part, these guys were super fast paced, super work rate, just balls to the wall, doing all kinds of dives and high risk maneuvers and awesome kick exchanges and strike exchanges. And the whole time, the interesting thing about the match is how Ricochet keeps trying to get the Benadryller over and over and over again. And if you didn't know that was his finisher, you might not know what's going on, because they're not, it's Japanese commentary, so I don't hear them being like, "Oh, Benadryller," so you don't know. But time and time again, he's getting close to landing it, and Kota Ibushi just always has an answer. And then at the tail end of the match, Ibushi's landing all of his big offense. He's hitting him with the last ride and yada yada. And, Ricochet's being super resilient, kicking out of everything. And then finally, he signals to the crowd, makes them think he's going to do another last ride sit-out powerbomb. And instead, he Phoenix plexes this man. It's like when he landed, I had actually never, when I saw that for the first time, I'd never seen that move. And I was like, what the fuck? And it's still as crazy today as it was back then. So that's the same move that broke Hiromu's neck in San Francisco a few years ago when it was botched.
Yeah,
so,
with the Dragon Lee match, yeah.
Yeah, this match ruled. I mean, really, it's just awesome. If you haven't seen it, you should go out of your way. Ricochet versus Kota Ibushi from Dominion 2014. I'm probably like 4.5.
Yeah, I would go about that on it. Then your pick from Excursion match of the week last week was Jon Moxley versus Filthy Tom Lawler from Defy Wild Ones. And man, this match was awesome. I know I heard Dave saying that this is probably Filthy Tom's best matchup that he's seen, and I think I'm going to have to agree with him there. Like, this match was hard-hitting. Both guys got juice being thrown into the turnbuckle pad. Both guys are bleeding. Filthy Tom was just dripping, like drenched in blood. It was crazy. Great strike exchanges. Both guys, obviously Filthy Tom, MMA background, and Mox has done some MMA training, so you had some good like submission exchanges, strike exchanges, and these guys they were brawling all over the ring. Just was awesome action here, and Moxley ends up getting the win with the Death Rider towards the end, dropping Filthy Tom. And yeah, it's a really fun matchup. If you guys have not seen it, it's out on YouTube right now, and yeah, this was just an awesome matchup.
Yeah, I actually haven't even gotten a chance to check this out yet. I plan to, and this week's there's been a few things. Now, I did a lot of good work watching a lot of wrestling this week, but I still haven't seen the Taka Taichi Mania show. I still haven't seen the Fujinami show. Those are kind of like ancillary New Japan stuff, and I hadn't seen this match yet. So you're giving it the recommend?
Definitely, yeah. This match was so awesome.
What? Where were you landing star ratings wise?
4.5.
Wow, that's high. Wow, that's really good. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out this week for sure.
Nice. So for this week, it's my turn to pick the excursion match. So I'm going to help you out here. I'm going to go with the JTO main event from Takataichi Mania 2.5, Jun Kasai and Tomioka Hanma against the Suzuki-gun team of Doki and El Sporado.
Yeah, I heard this was pretty insane. So I've been meaning to catch it. Now, you watched everything from the New Japan side of that show, right?
Yes.
Anything else that's worth checking out or recommending or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, this is the only thing that I think would make consideration for a excursion match of the week.
Okay, perfect. Well, I will definitely check that out. And then this week, my recommended match of the week is it's going to be Kota Ibushi versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, hold up. Before you say, oh, but Josh, we've already seen that match. It's been recommended before. No, it hasn't. Because this is not Wrestle Kingdom 9 that I'm referring to. I am recommending Kota Ibushi versus Shinsuke Nakamura from August 4th, 2013, New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax 23, Night 4. The first match between these guys, which in my opinion is the better match.
Nice. Looking forward to checking that out. That should be a lot of fun. I miss seeing Nakamura in a New Japan ring.
Yeah, and you might never see Kota Ibushi in a New Japan ring again either. So there's that.
True. Well, that's going to wrap things up for us here this week. Next week, we'll be back to review more best of the Super Junior action. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. The network is at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. You can find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we're at Social Suplex. On Reddit, on the Pro Black Guy, just Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. The Grave Consequences Podcast, hosted by Caleb and Maserati. All Things Elite, hosted by Floyd and Austin. The AEW Match Guide Podcast, hosted by Sir Sam. The Great Match Generator, hosted by Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
Underdog Fantasy is the fastest growing fantasy app and easiest place to play fantasy sports. Just jump on UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app, draft your team, and that's it. And if drafts aren't your thing, they also have a pick'em game where you can win 20 times your money in a single night. Use promo code RADIO, and Underdog will double your first deposit when you sign up with up to $100 in bonus cash. Deposit $100, get $100 free. That's promo code RADIO. Terms and conditions apply.
Target has Laundry Day covered because they offer a great selection of concentrated Tide Pods to help with all your laundry needs. Tide Pods clean, freshen, and help rejuvenate your clothes with odor fighters and stain removers. Did you know Tide Pods clean better than the leading liquid bargain detergent? Tide Pods are powerful enough to make your whites white and your brights bright, even in cold water. Just toss in 1 Tide Pod for small loads, 2 for medium, 3 for large. It's that easy. For great value and convenient pickup options, get Tide Pods today at Target.